football. Meet Samuel Widdowson. He was a cricketer and a footballer. He played for Nottingham Forest back in the late 1800s, and he wanted a way to protect his legs from nasty tackles. Apparently, he'd broken his leg in a match against Sheffield United in 1874 and wanted to stop it from happening again. Naturally, his mind drifted to his other favourite sport, where players had been wearing these pads. Story goes, Widdowson cut up his cricket pads, sewed them into his socks and popped them on before taking to the footy pitch. Ta-da! Shin pads. Like all great genius inventors, everyone took the mickey at first. To be fair, he probably looked quite stupid running around with these on. But it's thought his whole Nottingham Forest team then began wearing them from 1887, and the first known use of them in a match was in 1894, in a match between Newcastle and the then Woolwich Arsenal. Eventually, FIFA clocked on that this protection was pretty important for footballers. Multiple studies have shown wearing shin pads clearly reduces the risk of players getting lower leg injuries. And so, in 1990, basically 100 years after Widdowson first put them on, shin pads were made compulsory. It became a part of Law 4 of IFAB. That's the body responsible for setting the laws of the game internationally. But the law doesn't actually specify anything about measurements of shin pads. It just says pads must be made of a suitable material and be of an appropriate size to provide reasonable protection. It's really vague, and players can get away with a lot. A lot of grassroots clubs are choosing to ban micro shin pads for obvious reasons though, especially after a 15-year-old player from Penistone Church broke his leg while wearing them. Still no change from IFAB though. That's why Grealish & Co can still get away with these ones, which are no bigger than a credit card and which seem to offer little to no protection whatsoever.
Good morning, everybody. You're listening to Jim White and Simon Jordan, and we are live on talkSPORT. So Leeds are up and running in the Premier League with victory over Everton. At the third time of asking, have we alighted upon promoted clubs that can offer some Premier League fight? Meantime, Daniel Dubois splits with his coach Don Charles. To move forward in sport, must you embrace change? Also today, does the domestic league have a responsibility to feed the national team? Why is nobody in football willing to call out their contemporaries? Are politicians using sport to push their agendas once again? Do we need more Club World Cups? And as players start calling out PSR, is anyone willing to offer an alternative? It's Jim White and Simon Jordan, and we are live on talkSPORT.
100% engagement.
Jim White and Simon Jordan on talkSPORT.
We are. I can't imagine, and I'm going to say it, being married to you, because if you come in late at night, you're bound to disturb me. I'm about to launch into the opening of the show there. Good morning, everybody. Good morning to you, Simon.
Good morning.
And the man Jordan comes into the studio. I don't like the way this has been designed. He shouts at the top of his voice. Then he decides it's too hot in the studio as I'm in the middle of. Meantime, Daniel Dubois, you're over at the temperature gauge over there, fiddling about with the heat system in the studio. Is it all to your liking now?
It's a bit warm.
It's a bit warm.
I was just looking at the design at the front of the studio thinking it's not very ergonomic. It's not a good use of space, is it? Do you not think? I mean, I know
right.
we're supposed to say everything's wonderful, and obviously these new studios are meant to be the best thing since sliced bread, and they're very good.
Okay.
But I was looking at the space and how we have to crawl past cameras, and there's space here that seems to be used for nothing.
Right. Okay. Well, we'll sort.
That's my view. I shall tell Scott Taunton about it, and I'm delighted. I'm sure he'll be delighted to hear from me.
Oh, he's the top man. One thing we have lost, and we touched on this yesterday, is the view of the Thames and the boats and central London out there. And that is a shame because that kept us in touch, literally, with what's going on in the outside world. We could see what the weather was like. We could see what the conditions were like.
What would be nice to lose, though, is the newsreaders coming in, so the awful things that we say in the break can remain amongst ourselves.
That's true.
Yeah, and the fact they're in here stops us from saying the dreadful, terrible things that we say about everybody.
Well, that's right. We're in this invidious situation when the newsreaders come in, all of whom are tremendous individuals. But when they come in, we're in the middle of an absolute war, no doubt, on occasion with Martin Keown and others. And then we've got to sit like mutes, haven't we? And we can't say a word. While the newsreaders, I'm at a variety of people about this in this building. We'll sort this out. Simon, I like it, mate, because you demand high standards in everything you do, and I'm with you on that. We have a lot to get through this morning. I know in Talk Boxing yesterday afternoon you touched on this.
Yeah.
In fact, I think you fellas actually set the hair running on it because you got in this early that Daniel Dubois had split from his trainer Don Charles.
He had, yeah.
Touch on it briefly with me now. Is there more to it? Why is that? Because it seemed like it was a winning and successful combination.
Well, it seemed like it was an inevitability. Don was in during the break when you were here, when you were away on holiday, came in after the Dubois defeat and wanted to come in and wanted to be on, talk to me about the things that had happened over the weekend when Daniel had lost the fight, all the build-up to parties at his father's house or his house and all the disarray that was going on, and wanted to put his view across at the same time as me counselling and saying, Don, be careful. Don't say too much. That'll get yourself in a situation where you get hurt by this. Right. And I got the feeling that the change was imminent. Sam Jones has been brought in now as Daniel Dubois' manager. Okay. So Sam Jones, that manages Jack Cattrall and a few other people, has been brought in. So there's a change-up. There's a change-up.
I can tell you this. I mean, we're going to talk about this further down the line because obviously people are talking about when is Dubois going to come back? Are we going to see a devastating Daniel Dubois again in the ring anytime soon? Devastating as he was against Anthony Joshua, of course, not that long ago. What I can tell you is I spoke to his father, who's a big influence on Daniel. I spoke to him earlier this morning, and some kind of a statement is getting put together by the Dubois camp at this moment, and we should be able to bring you that before we leave you today at 1 o'clock.
They won't like listening to Talk Boxing yesterday because I think the general consensus of opinion, the less his father is involved, the more opportunity Daniel may have to recover and develop and enhance his career. Okay. That was the kind of consensus opinion from the Talk Boxing gang yesterday.
We'll dip into what you guys were talking about yesterday. We'll actually just refresh our minds with where you went with that yesterday, because it's an interesting story behind the scenes in boxing. You get the right trainer, you get the right guy in your corner, then you're onto something good, as has been the case with Alexander Usyk, of course, for so long now. Last night, did you see it? Did you hear it? Leeds United got off and running, Simon. They got the win they wanted over Everton. A 1-0, albeit a controversial penalty kick, but they're up and running. Daniel Farke, happy enough. This was Farke post-match.
Especially for the newly promoted side, it's always important to reward yourself pretty early in the season with points on the board. And especially in the good games when you are so much on the front foot. And I think we were the well-deserved winner today and we played so dominant, especially in the first half. It's important that you take advantage out of this performance. For that, I was so pleased that we then also scored this 1 goal, defended the clean sheet. In the end, a hard fought, but also well-deserved to win, and important to get the first.
They're just up and they won. Leeds won last night. Yeah. This is just the 3rd season in Premier League history to see as many as 2 newly promoted sides win on the opening weekend. I mean, have we now alighted upon a mix of promoted clubs that can offer a bit of Premier League fight? I know it's early, but this is a good sign, isn't it?
I think the fixtures have been kind to those 2 clubs. They certainly weren't kind to Burnley, were they? Burnley were playing away at Tottenham Hotspur, with a new manager, with a new regime, with a new appetite. A new way of playing, and so Burnley got an unkind fixture if they wanted to start their season on a positive foot, whereas the other 2 promoted sides, Leeds and Sunderland, have got sides that are struggling for a variety of different reasons. Everton, a lot of that to do with the financial landscape of the last couple of years, albeit David picked them right up by their bootstraps and made them a far more forceful outfit, but they're not a great side, Everton, and that was shown last night. And West Ham were dreadful. So I don't think you can take anything from it. I think it's brilliant for the two sides to get out and get out from underneath and get 3 points on the board as early as they possibly can. But I don't think it's an indicator of anything. The only thing you can hope for is that it builds momentum. The next team that Sunderland are playing, I think, are Burnley, right? We'll see then if they can supplement the outcome that they've got by getting a point out of that game or 3 points, because obviously Burnley will be looking for a result at home against Sunderland to start their season.
Yeah, but
so I don't think you can say anything.
The signs are good though, mate. I mean, it took until November last season to see 2 wins in total from the promoted trio.
I know, but again, fixtures have been kind. I mean, Ipswich started their season last year with their first game of the season against Liverpool. I mean, these are not easy fixtures for people to start with. If you're going to start against a team, I mean, you listen to, I mean, I'm not suggesting that these are the oracle, but there's a whole plethora of people in and around the punditry world that are tipping West Ham to be relegated. So why would we be surprised? They've sold some of their best players. They don't look in particularly good nick. Potter, despite the protestations of Karen Brady the other day, is struggling at West Ham, irrespective of how forward-thinking he is and how progressive his management is. His team are struggling with him and haven't been anything particularly memorable in the last 6 months since they sacked Julian Lopetegui. So with all those things in mind, that's probably the wrong pronunciation, isn't it? Yeah, I know. That's why you're sniggering. Lopetegui, whatever the bloody hell it is. And so with that in mind, you look at it and say, well, great that they've got these wins, but there's a long, long way to go. And a bright, sunny afternoon on the first game of the season with all the lustre that comes with playing in front of fans like Sunderland fans or playing in front of fans like Leeds will dissipate as it gets more difficult, more challenging.
Sure. Well, I for one think it's a good start. I must admit, considering, as I said, we waited until November last year.
Yeah, if they'd have lost these games, it would have been the polar opposite. So I don't think it's either. I mean, if they'd have lost these 2 games, I don't think we should be forecasting their demise. If they're winning these 2 games, I think it's slightly previous to suggest that this is a good trend. What we do want to do is see a competitive league where the teams that come up from the Championship are given a fair opportunity to be successful. But, they're hampered by the fact they can't carry the same losses as the other teams in the Premier League that are established can do, so they're already disadvantaged. They're disadvantaged by having substandard players and coming into the Premier League and having to build a team around players that are purported to be Premier League players. So all those things are disadvantageous. It would be nice to see a team come up and be good enough to stay in the Premier League.
With that. Totally agree with that. Didn't agree with the penalty decision last night. There is one message from Tony. Good morning, guys. We need to sack all of the PGMOL officials and bring in the very best officials from the rest of the world, because at the moment, this place is a laughingstock. Debate surrounds the winning goal last night following the James Tarkowski handball. This was David Moyes on that post-match.
I actually think the referees have had a poor weekend in the opening weekend. I think there's been a lot of decisions which I don't think, and tonight's another one. I think tonight shows, the rules are supposed to be that, if you keep your hands down to your side, and if anything, he's actually trying to get it behind his back as well. The ball takes a deflection on flight as well. You're allowed to block it, and he's leaned towards the ball, so we accept that. But I just don't know what the rules are supposed to be, that we'd give handballs. If we saw one, I think on Friday night wasn't given, which looked far clearer handball than it was tonight. And I know it was in a different part of the pitch. I don't understand that.
I mean, not for the first time. A contentious decision, and of course for those who benefited, Leeds United, they're all happy. Fine, everybody goes home happy. So of course it was a penalty.
So would he be? With due respect, this is the thing about managers. If he was on the receiving, if he was the person that was getting this advantage, he'd have nothing to say about it. If he had a penalty claim that wasn't given and hadn't been allowed, he'd be on the television now saying we had a legitimate penalty that was given away from us. So the inconsistency that managers deploy to the standards of refereeing is a challenging thing for me, because I understand he's frustrated and I understand he's put on the spot. But I guarantee you, if you reverse that situation and the penalty had been given to Everton, you wouldn't hear peep from him. If a penalty hadn't been given to Everton, you'd hear peep from him about the fact that should have been a penalty.
So what do you want? Do you just want blanket acceptance?
I think you can also look at the reality of what your team has done and what your team didn't do. And the referees make decisions, and whether you like them or not, they're part and parcel of the territory of the game. If it's a terribly disadvantageous decision based upon a completely, utterly poor bit of refereeing, that's fine. But when it comes to margins of interpretation, somewhere along the line, people have to accept that the referees make an interpretation. The rules are the rules. You might not like certain aspects of them. I'd like to understand which other refereeing decisions that David was talking about. Is he talking about the penalty? Is he talking about the goal that Eze scored for Palace?
That's what he's talking about.
But that's a rule.
Yeah.
You might not like the rule. You might not even understand the rule. How many times have we sat in this studio listening to people complaining about a rule that they didn't even know existed? 2 or 3 years ago, they had to change the handball rule because none of the players understood what it was. And all these players get briefed and they get a refereeing a visit at the beginning of the season. And when it actually comes to the game, all they do is complain. All they do is complain about something they haven't got.
So what are we seeking? Are we seeking a pursuit for perfection or a pursuit for consistency? Which one?
Well, a bit of both.
What's more achievable?
Well, I mean, consistency, I suspect, because perfection is a ridiculous ideal, because you've got human interaction.
Well, let's have consistency. I agree with you, though, Simon.
But consistency...
The Senesi handball on Friday night in Liverpool Palace, not given.
But consistency...
And that was clear.
But then you can apply... I understand that. If you've got a general standard you expect everybody to adhere to. If we've got inconsistency of refereeing decisions by a referee rather than referee... So if you've got one referee that makes a decision one week and makes a completely different decision a different week, you can argue about the consistency.
Yeah.
But if you've got different referees interpreting the law, some perhaps being a bit more flexible and some being a bit more regimented, that's a human trait. You have to have some flex. You can't have a complete removal of individuality from a refereeing decision-making process. If Webb's decision-making process or directive, as it seems to be here, is less is more, let's try to avoid harsh penalty decisions, but let's uphold the letter of the law to some extent. And then referees within that have got to have a margin of wiggle room.
Have they? Have they?
Well, yeah, everything's about humans.
We want 100% consistency. I mean, can you achieve anything near consistency
but they don't want,
when you have human involvement?
But no, you can't to some extent.
Well, there we go.
But they don't want consistency. They're not interested in consistency. Consistency is an argument they throw into the conversation. They want the decisions that they want. It's not about consistency, because they're not arguing for consistency of a referee's performance, because a referee doing one thing one week and doing another thing. The law is being interpreted with a slight margin of human intervention, which is Howard Webb saying less is more. What does less is more mean? It means use your judgment to try and make a call that isn't harsh on the handball.
But Simon, so managers complain because they see the same law decided differently. According to who is refereeing that particular game.
Yeah, but there's again, it's it's like a police officer. Some police officer will stop you in the street and give you a warning for someone gets a lippy little kid gets carried away with himself and starts to be abusive to somebody. One police officer will give him a ticking off and sending home with a kick up the jacksie. Another police officer will nick him. But it's all within the confines of the interpretation of a judgment. And you have to accept that if a handball is enacted, that there is a margin, a small margin, not a glaring margin. There is a small margin for interpretation as to a referee looking at it and thinking that that's a penalty or not a penalty. And I guarantee you, this is the thing that annoys me insofar as I'm annoyed. David Moyes, as much as I like him, if that was the other end of the equation, like I said a moment ago, he'd be complaining about not being given it or silent about being given it. So you can't have it both ways. You can't complain when it happens to you and are silent when it doesn't happen to you and you're the beneficiary of it, or actually complaining when it does happen to you and you aren't given the outcome that you think.
Let's put it out there this morning. I mean, a penalty kick was awarded and that infuriated the Everton side of the house, but it delighted the Leeds side of the house. Of course, the penalty still had to be converted, and it was. As a result of that, Leeds left last night with all 3 points. But what are we seeking here? A pursuit for perfection or a pursuit for consistency? Is consistency too much to ask for? You might want to give us a call on that. 03717 223344 81089. Good morning, everybody. It is Tuesday morning, Tuesday, August the 19th. Yeah, I get the date right today. Jim White and Simon Jordan live on talkSPORT. We're going to be talking boxing very soon because Don Charles said to have split from the Daniel Dubois and the Dubois camp in general. We'll try to put a bit more meat to the bones of that and where that is going. Sam Jones, now said to be Dubois' manager. We'll get into that very shortly. At the moment, we're stuck on this. Leeds winning last night. Controversial penalty kick awarded to them with just minutes to go, and of course Tarkowski and Moyes and the Everton side of the house say never a penalty, shouldn't have been a penalty anyway, it was given, and Leeds scored and took all 3 points, and Leeds went home happy. Everton didn't. Simon alluding to the point that if it was David Moyes and it had gone in David's favour and it was Everton who were awarded a penalty, then David Moyes would have sounded very differently post-match last night. Thank you, Simon, says this particular message sender, for showing just how fickle managers actually are. If it goes against them, the referees are shocking. If it goes for them, not a peep. Everybody goes home happy. You're suggesting that Moyes would have been happy and would have been making a very different sound post-match to the sounds that he made.
But if it were awarded to David and he feels so strongly about the fact that it shouldn't have been awarded against him, then I'm pretty damn sure you wouldn't have heard a manager. And maybe it's very unrealistic and naive of me to say it, but if the refereeing decision is poor, why wouldn't someone come and say, we got a penalty, but it should never have been a penalty? You would never hear that. You would never hear a manager say that. And if you do hear it, then it's an absolute revelation. And if you don't hear it, why don't you hear it? Because a bad decision is a bad decision. Except, of course, when a bad decision goes in your favour. So when these managers trot it out as a reason why their team hasn't scored a goal for 96 minutes and they've lost the game 1-0 to a penalty, which has got... apparently the only reason they've lost the game is because they didn't they considered a penalty and didn't do anything themselves to change the direction of travel. I get fed up with it because it's nonsense. Everybody makes mistakes. All of us make mistakes. It's about minimising mistakes. The only people that aren't allowed to make mistakes are apparently referees.
So what are we seeking here? Are we seeking the pursuit for perfection or a pursuit for consistency? Is consistency the only thing we're asking for here? We know perfection's not on, but is it too much to ask for consistency? 03717 223344. Dave's a big Arsenal fan. Dave, good morning. Where do you stand on this?
Morning, gents. I completely agree with Simon. As an Arsenal fan, I've got no skin in this game, but my manager is one of the worst. Now, the basics are, unless you had the same referee refereeing every game to the same level or to the same line, there will be differences in interpretation. Next week, one will be given, and David Moyes or someone will say, well, it won't be given, and it was given at Leeds. But he might then say, well, he didn't lean into it like Tarkowski did. I watched the game last night.
Yeah.
He didn't lean into it. So there's no chance of perfection because perfection doesn't exist. Footballers aren't perfect. Managers aren't perfect. On Sunday, so people don't think I'm being biased against Everton, on Sunday, Manchester United, in my view, should have had a penalty. Saliba went through the back of Fernandes in the penalty area. All right?
Yeah.
Watch the game.
Yes.
It wasn't given.
Right.
Next week, I guarantee you, in the middle of the park, that will be given. But it's the interpretation of a referee. Now, we get good and bad decisions. There is that David Moyes will definitely moan about that in the future, that he doesn't get one. But as I've said, it is going to be an interpretation. And the referee has to make a decision. Yes, they make bad decisions. But you know what, last night? I don't think it's that bad a decision.
Right. So the pursuit of... Now, Dave, this is a good call. But the pursuit of consistency is what we're after. Is it achievable?
No, consistency is. But the consistency, the problem you have with the consistency word is how many referees referee in the Premier League and different officials. The problem is that unless you say to each one of them, if it hits the hand no matter what, or the arm below the shirt line, below the half sleeve or whatever it is, that is a penalty. You open it up to interpretation. Right. So there's no possible way that you will get complete consistency in the fact of perfection, because the referees will say that I am consistently giving that, but I am I don't know, John Smith,
I'm an
and he is
individual. I'm an individual,
Barry
yeah.
Brown.
By the sounds of it, you're going with Dave in this
Well,
one.
we're saying the same thing. I mean, you would accept, Jim, for the purpose of this conversation, that there is an element of refereeing that requires subjectivity. If you've got subjectivity, then you are putting yourself in a situation where one referee will look at it slightly different. What you want is an overall standard. Do you think, Dave, that the overall standard of refereeing is high enough?
Well, I think David's
He's gone,
left us. Let's go to Ryan, who's a Liverpool fan. Ryan, good morning. Consistency. Can we get it?
Morning, guys. I was going to say, like, as a former referee, I would go to referee meetings and referee society, and I think consistency is going to be completely unattainable because you would have about 50 guys in a room look at the same clip, and you'd get a split down the middle of what they would give. They'd free kick, yellow card or not. So I just think, as Simon's saying, it's completely situational. There's a lot of grey areas around the law in general, and it's completely open to interpretation. And each person will interpret it differently. So I think consistency would be great. I just think it's unachievable.
So as a former referee, just in the passing, did you think that was a penalty last night?
I think.
Come on, Ryan.
Again, it was a tough one, but I don't think it was. I think it was. I would go with the referee, seeing as being a former referee. I'll stick with him on that one.
Okay, listen, thanks for that. We have a whole bunch of people waiting to come through to us. We're almost at 10:30. We'll get more on this because at the end of the day, I think the supporters who pay good money, Simon, to go to these matches, I think the least they can expect is a high level of consistency from the officials.
Yeah, but you've got to explain what you mean by consistency, because one thing is talking about the consistency of an individual, or the other thing is talking about the standards of the industry.
Percentage of getting the decisions right.
But their percentage is high, and we know that. And you accept it, and everyone accepts. Any rational mind will accept that part of refereeing is subjectivity. Because sometimes you have to determine intent. And players are always saying, well, how do you know what intent there was there? Because you've never kicked a ball. So they accept this subjectivity. So if you accept subjectivity, then you know there's going to be degrees of interpretation. What you've got to remove are really bad decisions. Not decisions you don't like. Really bad decisions.
Yeah.
And if that was a really, really bad decision last night, I think there'd be more controversy about it. No, it's not a bad decision because I guarantee you, labouring the point, that David Moyes would have taken the benefit of that all day if it was in his favour and complained like a stuck pig if his team hadn't been given a penalty for that circumstance.
I'm going to put it out there again. Is it acceptable still in the modern game that we have grey areas when it comes to big moments and big decisions? Because it appears we do. We'll get into that next. It's 10:30 on this Tuesday morning.
Over the last few years, Formula One has gone from elitist and insular to a global entertainment brand. The transformation's down to American investment group Liberty Media, who cultivated a new image for the sport since buying it in 2016. Better access to drivers, improved content on social media and tapping into the US market have given F1 a massive boost in both attention and revenues. But is everyone happy? The fans certainly are, as evidenced by Drive to Survive. Almost 7 million people per season have tuned in to get all the gossip and all the drama from the paddock. The extra exposure means the drivers can demand a higher salary too. In 2010, the top drivers were earning $20 million a year, which isn't bad. But now, the very best earn 3 times that, with Max Verstappen getting a whopping $65 million in 2025. But money doesn't always buy happiness. Some drivers, including Verstappen, don't like the pageantry the changes have brought about. In Las Vegas in 2023, Verstappen said the drivers were made to look like clowns, and the event was 99% performance and 1% race. Some purists who still watch the sport feel the same, and that the spirit of competition has suffered. But Formula One and Liberty Media don't look like slowing down anytime soon. So expect more races, major events and exclusive access in future.
Simon Jordan's just been described as the gift that keeps on giving. A variety of people love the phrase, I kick up the jacksie, which is one of your favourite ones, isn't it? Or has become?
I think it's pretty descriptive, isn't it?
It is.
There's no sort of wondering what I meant by that.
No, exactly.
It's not something I hinted at, was it?
I know exactly what you mean by that. You've threatened me with it often enough. Jim White, Simon Jordan, Tuesday, August the 19th. And we're live in talkSPORT. We're also streaming live on YouTube and your smart TV. Bunch of things I want to get into, and not least the Leeds United booing of Jack Harrison last night, which is strange to say the least of it. Harrison coming on as a Leeds United substitute, and yet they booed him because of his time at Everton. And Everton was the opponent last night. We'll get to that. We'll also get to Everton, where they're going this season under David Moyes. But for the time being, because of that penalty decision, many say it was, many say it wasn't. It cost Everton the game and gave the game to Leeds. The penalty, albeit, had to be converted and was. So Leeds won it by a single goal to nil. But in terms of the officiating, what are we involved in here? The pursuit for perfection or the pursuit for consistency? Is consistency too much to ask for? Steve's a big Evertonian. Good morning, Steve. What do you want to say, mate?
Yeah, morning, lads. Yeah, Mr. Cavana, can I take you back a couple of seasons? There was 5 minutes to go, Goodison Park. Everton were playing Manchester City, and Rodri puts his arm horizontal out. The ball hits him on the hand, on the arm, and Cavana doesn't give the penalty. Now, if he had it done, that game would have probably finished 1-1, and Liverpool would have won the league. Yet last night, Tarkowski's arm was practically behind his body. The ball hits his arm.
Yeah.
And he gives a penalty. Can you remember the one I'm talking about?
I do, yeah.
That was Mr. Cavana.
Yeah.
Cavana, yeah. That was the same referee. So where's the consistency in that?
I know where you're going with it, Steve.
What was the directive at the time? What was the governance at the time? What was the protocol being set down by the establishment around handballs? Because Howard Webb is setting different directives on every season for the referees to operate to.
Well, there has been a relaxing of the rule. I mean, Howard Webb...
If we're going to compare it, let's compare it fairly.
Yeah, the guidance to officials this season is less is more.
But he
you
gave
will
a
see
penalty.
fewer harsh handball penalties.
But he's given the guy's given a penalty, so that seems to be flying based upon the controversy. That seems to be flying in the face of that objective.
Yeah.
But if we're going to compare something and suggest that a refereeing decision that was made 2 years ago in a circumstance is similar to the one that was made last night, we also have to look at the guidance at the time to make sure that we are comparing like with like.
Right. Okay, Steve, thanks for the call. Here he is, Chelsea fan Vernon. Happy new season, Vernon. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning, guys. This has got me a bit stewed up, this. This is one of my bugbears, is cheap penalties.
Yeah,
And look, Howard Webb, I'll take it, he was one of my favourite all-time referees. But as an administrator, I think he's got to get on top of this. And I think the thing that I want, Jim and Simon, is accountability rather than consistency. And because like everyone else said, there's so much grey areas, especially in penalties and especially with handball. But referee Kavanagh's come out and he's said quite openly, I didn't give the penalty. So the linesman's obviously given it because VAR didn't give it. And the linesman couldn't really see it properly and it happened so fast. It wasn't a penalty. Two of the best refs of the recent era, Mike Halsey and Dermot O'Leary, both come on talkSPORT and said categorically, never a penalty, both of them. So the red flags are already flying there when two experienced refs have said categorically not a penalty.
Vernon, when you say you want accountability, what does that look like?
It looks like this, Jim. We have the wretched VAR, all right? I hate it, but then I know we're stuck with it, so there's no point blathering on about it. But let's at least use the bloody technology. The most stupidest rule of all time, Jim, is this. It's not a clear and obvious decision. Honestly, every time they say it, I just want to throw the telly out the window. But when the referee gives it, when the penalty was such importance and so fast, it happened so quick, and the referee even admitted he didn't give it. The linesman's obviously given it. The referee must have to go to the screen. It takes about 10 seconds, Jim.
Yeah. I'm with you on that, Vernon. I'm with you on that. Yeah.
Referee Kavanagh then can come out and go, I had another look at it, and in my opinion, it was or wasn't a penalty.
Right.
And then at least we know where we stand.
Yeah.
Jim.
You know where he's going with it?
I do.
In other words, see it right through to the end.
Yeah, I'm just trying to understand the chronological order of events. If we're following Vernon's logic, the referee didn't make the decision, the linesman did, and the referee denied himself the opportunity to want to go and look at it again or call for VAR. Is that what we're saying manifested itself?
That's what we're saying. That's what Vernon's saying.
Right.
It was checked by VAR.
Well, there we are then.
But and they went with it.
So what's the point then?
But I mean, at the end of the day, Simon, again, it's down to he's saying accountability, Vernon.
Yeah, but I don't
think he's wrong on that. I'm saying consistency.
Well, what does accountability look like? We've just
told you.
Well, no, he's told you that it should have gone to VAR, but they did. So I don't understand the point of that conversation. With all due respect to Vernon, who I like to listen to every time he comes on the call, if the linesman gave it, which is Vernon's assertion, and the referee had VAR supporting it, what was the point of that particular observation? VAR did intervene. It did have an opinion. VAR, if we're now suggesting that VAR didn't want to row against the stream, well, that's a different conversation. That's a conspiracy theory. That's a belief system that they all cover one another's backsides. And if we believe that, we believe that.
I'm not sure where Vernon was going with Dermot O'Leary as one of the officials. I don't think we're right on that one.
No, he was talking about the analysis afterwards, wasn't he?
Of course. Let's go to Michael, who's a Tottenham fan who might finish this for us. Where are we going with it, Michael?
Gentlemen.
Morning, mate. I mean, we're never going to get...
As always.
Thank you.
Wonderful show.
Thank you, Michael. We're not going to get perfection, but are we going to get consistency?
No, you never get consistency. Simon's analogy about the policeman stopping a young lad is absolutely right. It's the same with motorists. He'll let somebody off or will give them a 3 points. I thought it was I watched it 100 times in slow motion later on, and it was a marginal decision. I thought it was a penalty because he shaped his body in such a way the ball was going to be stopped. Players cheat, they know exactly what they're doing. Can I make one other point?
Yeah.
I have got a lot of time for Everton because I'm of a certain age when, in the early 60s, as a Spurs fan, Spurs and Everton were the two wealthiest clubs in the country. Spurs are a great team, Everton are a great team. In the end of the 60s, they had Harvey Kendall Ball, another great team, great club, Everton. In the middle and late 70s, they won the league again. Since then, Everton's football has been diabolical. And this brings me back to Moyes. I don't think he's good enough for Everton. What he's good at doing is keeping you in the top division. He might scrape a minor trophy. He won't challenge for the league. He won't get you in the top four. Everton deserve better. And one final thing about Moyes, and this is a lovely story. He took over as Ferguson's successor a few weeks before the season started at United. The fixtures had come out, and I was walking back from work, and I listened to the radio, and Moyes came on and said, and he started complaining about the computer giving United difficult fixtures. I thought, hold on, you're now the manager of the biggest club in the world, you're the manager of the defending league champions, every other team is absolutely petrified of going to Old Trafford, and you're worried about other teams, and that told me there and then he is not an elite manager. He is not good enough for a club of Everton's side.
Okay, you've had that in your mind for many years, haven't you? And you couldn't wait to get it off your mind. Michael, listen, thank you for that. One thing amazed me last night, Simon, Jack Harrison, back at Leeds United.
Yep.
And of course, back at Leeds United, having been at Everton, he left the club 2 years ago following relegation, moved to Everton. Many Leeds fans seem to
hold it against him.
Seem to seriously object to the fact that that was the order of events for Jack Harrison. And then booed him when he came on last night in the 78th minute for Daniel James. It seems to me, booing your own fans, Leeds fans, you might be able to tell me otherwise, but is that a good thing to do, to be seen to be doing, to be heard to be doing? I mean, are football fans always the last to forgive and forget? If so, why? Surely we've moved on from that time. Does the boy deserve to be booed by his own?
Do we want rationality in our game? Do we want a lack of emotion? Passion, tribalism, division, confrontation are all part and parcel of English football. It's what makes it thrive. It's what makes it survive. It's what gives it its energy. It's what makes it something that you can't bottle and sell in every other walk of life, because otherwise everyone would do it.
Is it tribal to boo your own player?
Well, they obviously feel that when he left Leeds in the first instance and went to Everton, it's because it suited him better, rather than stay with Leeds, help Leeds get back out of their particular plight, given he was part of the team that got them relegated in the first place, and they probably want to visit upon him, that mentality.
Now, is it constructed? He put money behind the bar last night before the game for Leeds United fans. As a gesture. I think he gave his shirt to a kid at the end of the game as well.
Sure, fantastic. And the two things are not mutually exclusive. He can be very generous in giving people drinks if that's what he so finds is a necessity to do. I don't know why we'd know that. We obviously know that to give it some sort of a tangent to the fact that the kid left Leeds. When he left, the Leeds fans, I'm not saying they're right or wrong, the Leeds fans obviously felt that he left Leeds when in their hour of need, which was when they wanted to get back to the Premier League, to go to an opportunity in the Premier League. Now that Premier League, the opportunity is now no longer at Everton, it comes back to Leeds, and they don't forget. Now, I don't think it's rational, and I don't think it's sensible to boo somebody that's now going to help you achieve your biggest outcome, which is staying in the Premier League and being successful again as Leeds United. But you cannot ask football fans to sit there and be emotionally stunted or rational in their thinking when their game in and of itself is predicated upon irrationality. You know, we've got a whole
irrational thinking.
Well, to boo your own.
To boo your own.
Well, of course it is. Yeah. It's emotional thinking.
Yeah.
Or whether it's irrational is a judgment.
Emotionally irrational.
Well,
wrong.
What do you want him to do? Would you like him to score an own goal? Would you be happy then? No, you'd be furious, wouldn't you? So you want him to do well. You want him to be someone of significance to your team. So it's irrational in its outcome, but emotional in its response. And that's the nature of the beast. That is it. That's what makes football so wonderful.
Why not put it out there? Come on, Leeds fans. Let's hear from you this morning. Were you one of those inside Elland Road last night who were booing your own man Harrison as he came onto the pitch towards the end of the game as a substitute for Dan James? Were you? If so, why? Do you not forgive and forget? 03717 223344. Tuesday morning, just picking over the bones of the Premier League match last night. Leeds beating Everton by a single goal to nil. We know about the penalty, the awarding of it. We also know that when Jack Harrison came on in the 78th minute for Dan James, he was booed by his own fans, Leeds United fans. He'd been at Leeds, he left for Everton. He left the club 2 years ago following relegation, moved to Everton. Some Leeds fans held that against him and then seemingly waited their moment for when they could let Harrison know in no uncertain terms what they thought of him. And when he came on last night, no doubt, hoping that he might add a second goal for his football club, he didn't do it. But he got booed in the process. Fans booing their own players.
We've got that weasel Matt Gibson on from MTM. Can't he observe on that?
Oh, good. We can speak to him about that. Maybe he was one of the ones who was booing. I somehow doubt it. But are football fans always the last to forgive and forget? Here's Dan, a Leeds fan. Dan, good morning. Were you there last night? And when Harrison came on,
Morning,
did you boo or not boo?
Morning, Simon.
Morning.
Unfortunately, I wasn't there last night. No, couldn't get a ticket and I were away with work. But I watched all the match, and first half were good, but second half wasn't that great. To be honest, when you come from this Jack Harrison thing, it was the same with Aronson when he turned his back on Leeds and went. Now, my question is, would they do the same thing with Calvin Phillips if he came back from Man City? He obviously went for a better career somewhere else because he wasn't playing at Leeds much. He was coming off the bench. Now, I don't know if a lot of people saw it, but there was something on social media, a video with Jack Harrison's mum, and she was saying, don't go back to Leeds, stay at Everton. My lad belongs at Everton, don't go back there. Now, to boo a player who wears your shirt, your team's shirt, I think it's disgusting. You shouldn't do. Now, people have got mixed feelings, and, like people had mixed feelings for Bamford when he missed that penalty and all that, and they turned against him.
Yeah.
It's always going to happen in football, I think, because if you've got that one player who's doing something wrong or does something wrong, like, you could look at Wayne Rooney when Man United, Everton and Liverpool, you know what I mean? It's like, you could go to another thing where, I think Simon's mentioned it in the past, where a player kisses his badge. You know what I mean? I love this club,
Yeah.
All of a sudden you kiss your badge, you're a Leeds player, and then you go to Manchester United, you know what I mean?
But where is forgive and forget in all of this, though, Dan? Where's forgive and forget?
I think... I said to my father this morning, there's forgive and forget. But you've got to look at his attitude on the pitch and how he plays, right? I noticed when he got the ball, he wasn't running forward with it. He was passing straight away. And I think it's like, is there something in him where he still does want to play for Leeds and prove himself? Or he's got an attitude where, I'm back at the club. Nobody wants to buy me. I can't go anywhere. I'm just going to play here and earn me money. And
Dan, logic tells me he's pretty keen to play for you and to do well for you. I would have thought. Listen, Dan, thanks for the call. Final one on this from James, who's also a Leeds fan. Where do you stand at, James? Good morning.
Morning, chaps. You well?
Good. Thank you. What about you?
Yeah. All the better after last night, Jim, I must say. I didn't boo him. I was at the game, but I can see why people did. As the caller mentioned previously, I think the video that came about of Harrison's mum in the Everton end saying something like, "Oh, we won't be going back there," obviously, didn't go down well. There's all this PR about him putting money behind the bar, which is very orchestrated to kind of get him back on signed. And ultimately, as Aronson did last year, it was kind of the same narrative. He got a little bit of stick when he came back, performed half decent and kind of got the fans back on side. So I think, it's counterproductive. I see it as going to your stadium and booing your players, but ultimately I can understand why people did.
Yeah.
And I think if he puts the level of performances in, which will, I think he'll be an impact sub this year. He may chip in with a couple of goals. Ultimately, if he scores a goal in the last season that kept us up as he did against Brentford a couple of years ago, I think he'll be back on side. But
sure,
if Leeds go down, he ain't going to stick about. I can assure you that.
Well, maybe in the time for the time being, James, we could take it on board that he's there and he's going to try his best for you. But James, listen, thanks for the call. Simon, to take us up to 11 this morning on Everton, I'm looking at Everton, I'm thinking, what we're going to see from Everton. I like David, pre-match, David Moyes. I think it was in a Sky Sports interview, and he was saying, look, I'm too old to be managing a football club that's hovering about the relegation area. I've said to the players, and it was a bit tongue-in-cheek, but I want to be up there and I want Everton to challenge for everything. There's a new ownership. They've got a new home. Moyes has gone back, so there's a new manager.
Yep, he's a good manager.
But are we going to get the same old Everton?
Well, he needs help, doesn't he? I mean, David is a very good manager. And despite the criticisms that were levied at him at West Ham, and obviously we discussed it in great detail about David's style of play and the perception of it and the reality of it, and the two things are meeting in the middle in a Venn diagram. So there's substance behind the fact that he does play a certain way, and he made choices to continue with that. And now the outcome was that left him without a job at West Ham. When at one moment he was looking like the hero at West Ham, he went from the hero to somebody that was sort of, people were ambivalent whether he stayed or not. And to some extent, a lot of the West Ham fan base were coming on this show very critical.
Yeah.
Often is the case, seemingly with West Ham fans. But he's a very, very good manager, no doubt about it. And in his previous stint at Everton, he did wonderful things for them, with his partnership with Bill Kenwright, and build a football club and team that most people would think were achieving at relatively high levels. Now, going back to Everton, last year he did a good job. Post Sean, who did a good job in his own right, but that seemed to be running out of energy, that managerial appointment. He came in there, he galvanised them, they turned into quite a formidable side for a period of time, and their points haul was pretty impressive. The season starts with a series of optimism. You've got a new stadium, you've got a new ownership model, you got rid of Mashiri and some of his ridiculous decisions, and now you're going to start seeing some movement forward. But you're not seeing a huge support base in terms of changing it around. David managed to turn a little bit of water into a little bit of wine for a period of time, and got certain players performing. The centre forward Beto all of a sudden looked like a world beater. The central midfield player looks like a very good player, and obviously is a good player. David's got to be given a bit more of that in terms of support if he wants to look upwards. Otherwise, he's going to be looking at the very best with his managerial capability, the difference between being a side managed by someone else that might be struggling to stay in the league, with David Moyes, a side like that he's managing that potentially is a mid-table side at best. If he's genuinely looking up the table, then Friedkin and the new ownership model are going to have to invest in players. And I use that term very loosely because investment means give. And we'll see if they're going to do that. But we're not seeing any evidence. And a lot of it was being sort of distracted by the Jack Grealish situation. That's a loan signing.
Right.
It's a loan signing that suits the player, suits Man City. A player going to Everton at this stage in his career who's a £100 million footballer on loan isn't ascending. He's either trying to find a level or find an opportunity to give himself an opportunity to play for England, and hopefully that works out for Everton. But losing their first game against a newly promoted side isn't the blueprint. But David Moyes is a very capable manager, and I suspect Everton will be better off with him being there. But are they going to be a significant side in the Premier League?
Will they do all right,
doubt it.
or will they be in a relegation?
It depends
scrap?
what you think is all right. If you're an Everton fan, if you think finishing 4 or 5 spaces out of the relegation zone is what where you're happy with now because you've become acclimatised over the last 4 or 5 years, then you'll be happy with that. If you're looking at Everton once upon a time that were looking upwards with aspirations of better things, then I think they're going to struggle unless David's given some proper dough.
There's one of many former players who listen to this show, incidentally, penalty by the way, he moved his arm towards the ball. Okay, maybe he did. Penalty given and penalty was scored. And Leeds won it. It's Jim White and Simon Jordan. We're live in talkSPORT with Selco, where the trade goes.
talkSPORT Sports Update, powered by the Nissan Van Range. Score a winning hat-trick of performance, payload and price. Search Nissan Vans or head to your local Nissan Van Centre.
With your headlines at 2 minutes past 11, I'm Nick Ellaby. Good morning. Former Premier League referee Mark Halsey's told talkSPORT no chance Leeds should have had a penalty and James Tarkowski's arm was in a natural position.
I think they guessed, and in this game you cannot guess. If you're not 100% sure, you don't give it. If he's 100% wrong, then VAR will get involved. But for me, it's all about knowing the laws of the game. And law 12, handling the ball, that is not a penalty.
Either way, it gave Leeds a perfect start to life back in the Premier League. Ellen Road was rocking. Daniel Farker told us it needs to be their fortress.
The home stadium always has to be a fortress if you want to achieve anything that's obvious.
Some Everton fans are telling us they're worried about survival too. Moyes has been pleading for transfers. Former captain Alan Stubbs told Breakfast Everton should 100% sign Jamie Vardy.
I think he's very different to what we've got as well. We've got two very similar strikers, two big lads.
Yeah.
But we haven't got anyone who's that direct and most importantly, proven goal scorers.
Meanwhile, Wolves have signed right wing-back Jackson Chachoa from Hellas Verona. Noah Okafor is heading for a medical at Leeds. They'll pay AC Milan around £17 million for the Swiss forward. Morecambe have a new manager. Ashfir Singh Jahal's been appointed after new owners Punjab Warriors saved the club from extinction. And Ben Duckett's told talkSPORT 21 years old is not too young to captain England. He's backing Jacob Bethel, who will become England's youngest ever captain on the T20 Tour of Ireland.
He is an extremely mature young lad. The way he thinks about cricket, the way he goes about it all, it's like he's been playing for 10 years now. So, yeah, I don't see that he'll have any issues over there.
Jared Kimber and David Lloyd picked their England 11 for the Ashes on talkSPORT's cricket YouTube channel.
talkSPORT News.
Ukrainian officials are reporting fresh attacks launched by Russia overnight following talks at the White House aimed at ending the war. And a council is due to hear later whether its bid to stop asylum seekers being housed at an Essex hotel has been successful. Emma has more at past.
talkSPORT weather with QuickFit. Heatwave outside, oven inside. Stay cool this summer with a free aircon check. Book online or visit your local QuickFit today.
In the east and northeast, cloudy with patchy drizzle. Across the southwest of England, scattered showers may be thundery. Warm sunshine elsewhere.
Good morning, everybody. Tuesday morning, Jim White and Simon Jordan, and we are live on talkSPORT with you all the way through until 1 o'clock. And a lot to get through this morning. We're streaming live on YouTube and your smart TV for all the information on how to watch the show. And so many of you are doing that now, especially now that we're housed in this super duper studio on the 17th floor of the news building. Then head to talksport.com/watch and you can join the many who watch this as well as listen to it. In the world of boxing, well, what we got in Moses Itoma, a man who did an absolute demolition job on Dillian White in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia on Saturday night. Moses back in this country, and we will be speaking to him sooner than later with his manager Francis Warren very much guiding Moses onto the next fight. In the meantime, the big breaking story in the world of boxing is that it's being widely reported Daniel Dubois has split from his trainer, Don Charles. Don Charles, of course, has been a regular on this show and a regular with Simon on Talk Boxing. Charles and Dubois teamed up in 2023, shortly before Dubois took on Usyk for the first time in Poland. Dubois lost on that occasion, but rebuilt his career in a mighty way with wins over Jarrell Miller, Filip Hrgović, before becoming IBF champion when he beat Anthony Joshua. And boy, did he beat Joshua. It was a crushing defeat for AJ. Now, Dubois fell short against Usyk in the 5th round of their undisputed heavyweight title fight last month, and much scrutiny was being put on the build-up to that bout in terms of Dubois and what was going on with him. Dubois arrived at the stadium an hour before he was scheduled to make his ring walk after his father Stanley had allegedly thrown a party, a gathering at the family home earlier in the afternoon. Don Charles, post the fight, came into studio with Simon and spoke about this gathering.
Gathering. It was a gathering. Okay?
Okay.
Right. The same gathering we used for the prep on fight day for the AJ fight. A lot was made of the ring walk when Daniel walked out in Wembley. 96,000 people. A lot was made of it.
The Anthony Joshua fight.
Correct, yeah. And the energy that it was fired up.
It was.
That gathering at the home, the same home, was taken to the dressing room. Some of the Daniel's friends and his father's friends were in the dressing room for the AJ for the fight. That energy is what gave birth to the energy that everybody witnessed in the ring walk, and we were victorious on that occasion.
So you tried to replicate it?
Correct.
Now, apparently Daniel Dubois didn't know all the guests at this gathering, and at one stage he left for a drive, apparently to clear his head. The next thing, he's in the ring, trying to beat Alexander Usyk, something he failed to do. Is this what this whole thing hinges on, Simon?
No, I don't think so. I think there's a variety of things. I think that a lot of the credit for where Daniel has been able to achieve things comes through his father's tutelage of him. But there is also a point where there is challenges that are coming. Daniel is, needs to be spoken to in a certain way. There are certain communication tools that Daniel responds to, and Don Charles has been very successful in achieving that. But there was this relationship that I think most people in boxing think is a good thing in one respect and perhaps a debilitating thing in another, which is the level of control that his father has over what's happening and who's engaged and how it works and who his son looks to in moments of crisis during the middle of a fight and who is commanding and demanding the response from the fighter. And clearly it comes from his father. And that's a good thing in some respects because no one wants to get involved in between father and son. But there comes a point where the trainer needs to train. Now, Don was being diplomatic because the fact of the matter, it wasn't a gathering, it was a party. And the party was at a level where there was far too many people there distracting Daniel from the core focus of what he was trying to do, which was going against the best heavyweight in the world. And when you're arriving in an arena with an entourage of people that can't get into the building and the heavyweight champion of the world is being called back and people are being told by his father that if they don't get let in, then he's not fighting. I think those sort of things are distractions. Now, I don't think Daniel Dubois, I don't think that's the reason why he lost to Alexander Usyk, because Alexander Usyk is a supreme heavyweight, but I don't think it's a helpful factor. And I think the next evolution of Daniel Dubois to rebuild him requires the same sort of relationship that in part Don Charles had. Don came into the studio, wanted to come on the show, wanted to talk to me, but I spent some time before the show, despite the fact it's a media product and we will want as much content as we can, saying to him, careful what you say, because you're going to get hung out to dry here. And I like you, and I don't, whilst I'll quite happily take the controversy, be careful what you say. Yeah. Now, he spoke his mind, but he also, I think, was clever enough to suggest that ultimately he wasn't going to take hold of controversial subjects and criticise the father. Now, it's not anyone's gift to criticise a father-son relationship. But there is a point where it looks like there might be issues around that circumstance. It might be beneficial for Daniel, like it was beneficial for Caroline, his sister, to have a little bit of distance, not a departure between the relationship. We don't need a Chris Eubank Sr., Chris Eubank Jr. moment, but we might need some help with Daniel in terms of, the communication to Daniel neurologically requires certain thinking to get him focused. There's certain aspects of the way Daniel exists that need proper handling and guidance without me being too disrespectful. Okay. And I think that that Don had the zeitgeist on that, and I think he's been very harshly treated, and I think he can probably feel quite aggrieved about it. He probably won't, and one thing that Don will be able to say is that my reputation has been enhanced because he rebuilt Daniel. A lot of people had lots of questions about Daniel. He did bring him into a position where he did annihilate Anthony Joshua. The energy that was required and the party that was had and the legitimate story that Don was creating about the same people were in the room that created the outcome for the Joshua fight were the same people in the room for Anthony. I would suggest that's probably not true. That's him being diplomatic and making sure that he plays all ends against the middle. It cannot be in anyone's interest to have a raft of distractions when you're going into the biggest fight in your boxing career with the most difficult opponent.
On the day of the fight.
Yeah.
What we can tell you at this stage is I had a message from Don Charles just before we came on air this morning, and I won't break Don's confidence that he's put in me. But later in the week, Don expects to be able to say something regarding the split. I also spoke to Stan Dubois this morning, father, hugely influential father of Daniel Dubois. And it's my understanding that some kind of statement will come from the Dubois camp in the course of the day. Whether we're still on air during that time or not remains to be seen. But interestingly, Simon, on Top Boxing, your show yesterday afternoon, recorded yesterday afternoon when Simon and I came off air here at talkSPORT, you had former boxer and now trainer Paul Smith on and former boxer Duke McKenzie, and you got onto this topic. This was Duke.
He knows the kid inside out. Yeah. He knows how he works. He knows all the mechanics behind that kid and how to motivate and get the best out of him. We've seen it. And to get rid of him now at this point, I think it's a bad move.
I agree with you.
I think anyone that's going to work with Dubois, obviously no secret. I don't know his dad. I've never met his dad, but it's obviously no secret that his dad is a heavily influential person in the camp, in the team. And as long as that relationship is going to be the way it is, as in not just father-son relationship, it's going to be challenging for any trainer that gets involved or any manager that maybe get involved as well. I think it's beyond saving with him. I think whenever the fight gets hard, we've seen it proven more than once now. He doesn't seem to have that fortitude, that grit, that desire, that mentality of you're not beating me, I'm going to stick in this, I'm going to outlast you, and that's what.
What do you mean by that?
Needed.
I mean, he dug in deep against Hrgović, didn't he?
He dug in deep against Hrgović, but then we saw it in the Joyce fight. It wasn't there. We saw it in the first Usyk fight. I felt he could have got up. In the last fight, I felt he could have got up. As soon as the referee got to 10, he gets up and he walks back to his corner. I'm not beating him with a stick because he's down. I'm not sort of kicking the man when he's down. That's just my observations of what I'm seeing and what I've seen in the past. And I saw it in the Joyce fight. And I said after the Joyce fight, that's in him. That's never going to leave. And that's always going to be the case if a fight gets... That's just my opinion.
So that was Paul Smith and Duke McKenzie having their say on where this may or may not go. Yeah. It's not the first time in this sport, Simon, that a boxer changes a trainer.
Of course not. It's the same as a football manager being changed in the football team when a big event has been lost. It happens. There is a thing for me, and you saw my reaction to Neymar Sr. in Qatar, where I dislike fathers living vicariously through their children. I dislike it. I think that children, you produce your child, you let them go into the world, and whatever successes they have, you sit back and you enjoy the reality of what your son is achieving or daughter. In this instance, I worry that too many fathers and too many parents want to live vicariously through their children. And in this instance, I worry that, as much as I'm worried, because it's not my business, it's just an observation, that Stan Dubois has carried his son to a great point, and there might be a step-off point where perhaps it's better that someone else, a professional boxing trainer and a professional promoter and a professional manager, of which he's got all. Frank Warren is the best promoter in the business. And it'd be interesting because I know Frank wasn't very happy about certain things and has certain things that he'll be saying or has already said to the Dubois camp. And it'll be interesting to see what Sam Jones brings to the mix, because he's a flamboyant character that has lots to say for himself. And it'd be interesting to see if he's going to be a bullion or a yes man. But there's a point where, the boy becomes the man. And there's this conspiracy theory running around that people might think that ultimately, if Daniel Dubois had won this heavyweight championship of the world and been the undisputed, it would distance him from his father and make him even more of his own man. So maybe his father was quite happy that he didn't win that. And that's a mean-spirited observation. I don't think it's true. But I do think there is a danger for this boy, if he's going to develop into being something again as a heavyweight champion, that his father may need to take a little bit more of a back seat and not drive around in Bentleys that perhaps his son has bought.
The same father, Stan Dubois, producer Luke has just been in conversation with Stan Dubois. Stan cannot come to air with us at this time. It's expected there will be a statement coming out of the Dubois camp sometime today. Maybe we will still be on air when that comes.
It's rumoured to Tony Sims, isn't it?
As to regards the nature and the reason for this change. Yes, indeed. It's said to be Tony Sims who's going to take over from Don Charles.
Strong boxing man.
At the same time as all of this happening, Simon, Moses Atoma's on the scene. Now, Daniel is going to have to rebuild quick.
Not with Moses Atoma, he's not. Daniel, I mean, again, I asked the two boys that I will know, three boys that will know, Spencer, Duke McKenzie, and obviously Paul Smith. And they all felt that he needed to go regroup, fight a lesser opponent, get his confidence back, because I was mooting the idea, where's Moses going to fight next? Where can he fight? Will he fight Hrgović? Could he fight Daniel Dubois? And everyone went like that fight, but everyone felt for Daniel Dubois, he needs to regain his poise. He's just been destroyed by Usyk in a fight. In the same way that Anthony Joshua hasn't fought for a year. Some of that's because of an injury, but they're trying to find an opponent. And when Joshua came back from losing to Usyk, they handpicked opponents for him that gave you an idea of being rehabilitated until he got chinned by Dubois.
Right.
They need to get Dubois back into focus. And the question is he ever going to win a world title again? And I think the perception was possibly not.
That brings us right up to date with what's going on then. Regards this trainer change in the Dubois camp, Don Charles going and Sims coming in. But a statement expected out of the Dubois camp very shortly. We're across it. We're live in talkSPORT with Selco, where the trade goes. time on this show is a good time for us to be joined by talkSPORT's chief football correspondent Alex Crook, and Alex joins us right now with so much activity in the transfer market. Alex, good morning to you. A bunch of stuff to get through, so we'll fly through it. We have a latest, Dubois, on the Wolves strikers Strand Larsen and Hwang.
Yeah, two potential departures from Molineux. Two players I think Wolves would be reluctant to lose, although Hwang more likely, I'm told, to be allowed to join Crystal Palace on loan. The connection there is that Matt Hobbs, former sporting director at Wolves, left just before the season started, or just before the summer started, is likely to go in as Dougie Freedman's replacement. Obviously, he has that relationship with Hwang, and they're looking for extra backup options in attack with Eddie Nketiah currently out injured. In terms of Strand Larsen, he's a name that's been bubbling for a while in terms of Newcastle. I've been told, and I've written about it in my notebook on the talkSPORT website today, that they've actually done character checks with former Wolves coaches on Strand Larsen. But the message I'm getting out of Wolves this morning is loud and clear. He's not for sale. He's our main source of goals. It would take a big offer from Newcastle to prize Strand Larsen away from Molineux. And I think, again, this just highlights the frustrations and the difficulty that Newcastle are having trying to sign the forwards they want, ultimately to enable Alexander Isak to join Liverpool. So at the moment, and I said it yesterday, I'm still leaning towards Isak having to eat humble pie, make up with Eddie Howe and the fans, and continue his career at Newcastle.
My God, that was some moment, Simon, if that has to happen, with Newcastle playing Liverpool next. Honestly, I cannot imagine the scene when Isak takes to the pitch again, if that happens, in a Newcastle shirt.
Good. I hope Newcastle do manage to achieve that. I hope they have the strength of character to achieve it, and I hope the player gets precisely what his behaviour tells he deserves.
Interestingly, I mean, Isak, we know, Swedish. I've met him on a number of occasions, Alex. Sweden boss John Dahl Tomasson, we remember him. He has backed Isak amidst the ongoing situation around his Newcastle future. Tomasson says, first of all, Alex is an extremely professional player, a fantastic character and personality. Situations like this are quite complex. These are extremely complex environments that the players operate in. I'm sure it'll work out in the end, but you have to know the whole picture before you draw conclusions. That's always a good tip. I mean, nobody in football, it seems, is willing to call out their contemporaries.
No, and I'd have a lot more respect, I think, for those comments had we actually have heard something direct from Alexander Isak. But obviously he's kept his own counsel so far. So all we can judge him on are his actions, ultimately. And his actions were that he didn't go for pre-season with the rest of his Newcastle teammates, didn't use the club's facilities. He went to Real Sociedad to use his former club's facilities instead. And at the moment is clearly refusing to play for Newcastle. You compare that to Gigi Donnarumma, for example, who obviously is very disappointed with the way he's been treated at PSG. He's released a statement, and I have been told as well, Jim, that we could well see a formal statement from Johan Wissa in the coming days discussing his situation at Brentford. So I think sooner or later, Alexander Isak, if he wants the sympathy, certainly of Newcastle fans, is going to have to come out and give us his side of the story.
Wow. I mean, Wissa and Isak in the We're Not Happy Club.
Is it? Yeah, we understand that. Is it an accepted fact, Alex, that he has refused to play? Or is it a discussion between the club and the player in best that they're having a discussion that at this moment in time it's not appropriate for him to play? Which is the actual accurate assessment?
I think it could be both, Simon, to be honest. I think if you look at the comments from Eddie Howe when he was over in the Far East and he was clearly frustrated with his star striker, he said, didn't he, that Alexander Isak would have to earn the right to train with the first team again. So I think as much as Alexander Isak doesn't want to play for Newcastle at this moment in time, I think in order for his authority to be upheld, Eddie Howe couldn't simply welcome him back with open arms. I think it's going to be a slow reintegration process.
I think it's a slightly unfair characterisation on a player, and I'm quite condemnatory of the player in this situation. He doesn't not want to play for Newcastle. He wants to play for Liverpool. It's not a case of I loathe Newcastle. It's a case of I want to play for Liverpool. It's a legacy football club. They're the Premier League champions. In this instance, I don't really condemn the Swedish manager because the question has been asked of his experiences of Alexander Isak, not his experiences of Alexander Isak's behaviour in this instance.
Yeah, but hang on. Could Isak still not play for Newcastle while waiting for Liverpool to make the move?
I'm willing to wager you, if you asked... He's unhappy. And
he doesn't want to be reintegrated into the squad.
But that, again, we have not heard that directly from Isak. We're attributing that to very reliable sources. I think there was David Ornstein that had broken that particular story.
And you didn't hear Isak's representatives coming on saying, no, we need to correct that.
But you also didn't hear Isak say it either. and they're quite happy to leave it out there because they're trying to create fissures between the club and the player to create an outcome and to test people's resolve. Now, the question would be, would Eddie Howe want to say to Alexander Isak, get yourself in here, you're being picked for the weekend? The answer to that would probably be no. And then you have to ask yourself, well, why doesn't that sort of mentality deploy? Because the orthodoxy will say, oh, he won't be in the right frame of mind. Well, we never know that, do we? Because we never put it to the test. We assume that because a player has got the hump, that ultimately he should be allowed to ruminate about how much of the hump he's got.
How much of the hump do you have, Alexander? Listen, let's get back to Leeds. Are they closing in on a player, Alex?
Yeah, they are. Daniel Farke, I think, has been speaking for a few weeks now about the fact they're a little bit short of goals. They need probably a better number 9 they currently have in their books, a more proven number 9. Looks like that will be Noah Okafor from AC Milan, a fee agreed of around £17.5 to £18 million. He's due to fly in for a medical. It was obviously a good start to the season for Leeds last night with that victory at home to Everton, live on talkSPORT. But I think you could see even in that game, because Everton was so poor, Leeds were lacking a bit at the top end of the pitch, and obviously they're going to be hoping that Okafor can address that.
And what about Rasmus Højlund? Is he out of Manchester United?
Well, again, this is a really interesting one, isn't it? Because we've spoken this morning about 2 players in Alexander Isak and Johan Wissa, who are sort of kicking and screaming to get out of their current clubs. Rasmus Højlund wants to stay at Manchester United, but they clearly don't want him. He was left in the stands as they lost to Arsenal on Sunday. Ruben Amorim opting to play Mason Mount in a false number 9 position rather than putting his faith again in Højlund. And there is interest from clubs in Italy, Napoli, because Romelu Lukaku is injured. I reported that yesterday. AC Milan we've known about for a week or so now. And also Atalanta. Don't rule out Højlund's former club, but it's a really difficult one, isn't it? Because he's quite popular in the dressing room. He's pretty popular, actually, with Manchester United fans, Rasmus Højlund, because they see his work rate and his endeavour, but ultimately he hasn't really shown the ability to be United's number 9. But you do feel for him. I guess this is the other side of the coin, and this is where Simon will say the only loyalty in football comes from the terraces, because once a club decides they've got no need for a player anymore, they will take action like this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, those clubs, those owners at clubs. Ruthless, aren't you?
Still have to pay the bill, though, don't you?
Alex, thank you very much indeed. So as Alex Crook was reporting there, might get a statement from Johan Wissa camp in the coming days, and we'll find out more as the week goes on regarding Alexander Isak, who at this moment is still a Newcastle United player. We're coming up to 11:30 this Tuesday morning, live in talkSPORT.
Over the last few years, Formula One has gone from elitist and insular to a global entertainment brand. The transformation's down to American investment group Liberty Media, who cultivated a new image for the sport since buying it in 2016. Better access to drivers, improved content on social media and tapping into the US market have given F1 a massive boost in both attention and revenues. But is everyone happy? The fans certainly are, as evidenced by Drive to Survive. Almost 7 million people per season have tuned in to get all the gossip and all the drama from the paddock. The extra exposure means the drivers can demand a higher salary too. In 2010, the top drivers were earning $20 million a year, which isn't bad. But now, the very best earn 3 times that, with Max Verstappen getting a whopping $65 million in 2025. But money doesn't always buy happiness. Some drivers, including Verstappen, don't like the pageantry the changes have brought about. In Las Vegas in 2023, Verstappen said the drivers were made to look like clowns, and the event was 99% performance and 1% race. Some purists who still watch the sport feel the same, and that the spirit of competition has suffered. But Formula One and Liberty Media don't look like slowing down anytime soon, so expect more races, major events and exclusive access in future.
It's showtime on talkSPORT with BetMGM. Get ready for the golden era of sports betting. Visit betmgm.co.uk or download the app. 18+gambleaware.org.
BetMGM time. We're going to be joined by Matt Gibson, Leeds United supporting Matt Gibson, and we're going to look at the top sporting events and the odds round and about them. Matt, good morning to you. So Leeds got a win last night, 1-0 against Everton. Jack Harrison comes on towards the end. Did you or did you not boo?
Morning, gents. Hand on heart, I can say I did not boo. He did cop a fair bit of stick, as came over on TV. He copped a bit of stick when he was warming up as well. There was quite a bit of chat before the game of people being a little bit upset with him. I get it. I understand it. He got offered a new deal. He made sure he had the get-out clause in there. Leeds fans feel a certain type of way about people like that. But I think once he copped the initial bit of stick, he was chasing one down the wing, like a through ball down the wing, and everyone was cheering him on to go and get that and put a cross into the box. So hopefully time's a healer for Jack Harrison, because he's been involved with the club. I know he's had a couple of years where he's been involved with the club a while. So hopefully they keep hold of him, because I think he's a decent player, and there's a little bit of a road to redemption for him.
And of course, while working every hour God sends for BetMGM, you're a passionate Leeds United fan. I do hope I'm not dropping you in it here, Matt, but did you think it was a penalty?
With a completely neutral hat on, gents, I thought it was a tough one. The referee did give it real time, so if there was no VAR, if we were still in the Championship, it would have been a penalty. Watching it again, it was a tough one. With my blue and yellow Leeds United hat on, it's a stonewall penalty, and I'm glad Metcha buried it to give us all 3 points. But I think it's good for the league, right, that a couple of promoted sides get off the mark. Sunderland done West Ham.
Was it or was it not a penalty?
Well, does it touch his hand in the box? Yeah, it does. Or does it touch his arm in the box? Yeah, it does. Is his arm behind his back? Yeah, it is.
Simon, have you ever heard anything like this?
If you were watching it in isolation, had to give the odds on whether it was going to give it or not, what odds would you have given?
I'd have said favourite to give it, because the referee gave it real time. So there needs to be substantial evidence to overturn, does there not, Mr. Jordan?
Indeed.
Thank you.
My counsel rests with that evidence.
I'm glad we got off the mark. Like it took till the 5th of October last year for to get a win. Sunderland winning, Leeds winning. I think it's good for the competition down at the bottom end. There's the promoted sides are still favourites to go down, but West Ham into 5-2 from 11-2 for relegation. Everton in a couple of points, 8-1 from 6-1. It's all very early to say, but it looks like it's going. Hopefully, based on last night, it's going to be a bit more competitive down there in this season.
And are you dipping your BetMGM toe in the transfer water this morning?
We're going to have a look at some of the big spending clubs. I know we've talked about a lot of players and Gay and Eze and Isak, will they, won't they, and all of that. But I just want to have a look at like the spending power of the Premier League. There's 10 teams in the Prem that spent over 100 million quid. There's only 4 clubs in Europe outside the Premier League that have done that. Nottingham Forest have spent the same as Real Madrid, with probably more incomings on the way as well. Liverpool and Chelsea, we know that they've been going mad in terms of recruiting the players, but I don't think what gets publicised enough is how much they're selling and they're turning over. They've raised best part of 220, 230 million quid worth of transfer fees, gents. So they're doing a really good job of selling people on. Whereas you look at the likes of Arsenal and Man U. Man U have sold no one this window. Arsenal managed to raise 8 million quid, and they're spending fairly big. Chelsea and Liverpool are fetching big fees for their talent. Gents, do you remember who Arsenal's biggest sale was? 2017-2018 season is the clue. The biggest fee Arsenal have fetched for a sale.
The biggest fee Arsenal got for a sale? What a good question that is. I'm wrecking my brains because I was still on Sky, obviously. The biggest sale...
No idea.
Yeah, no idea. Go on.
Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain
for
Liverpool
for about 38 million quid to Liverpool. Interesting enough, I think he's about to sign for Birmingham, but it just shows that Arsenal aren't fetching massive fees and they're spending big. Is that surely it's not sustainable, Simon, to be doing 200 odd million quid a window and your
from what point of view?
From million quid?
From what point of view? From a PSR point of view, or from a financial expenditure point of view? Because we know that Stan Kroenke's got more money than God, so we know that he can afford to spend that kind of money. And secondly, it would appear that Arsenal have got plenty of headroom in PSR. So you're right, it's challenging to think they can keep on doing it. But if you look at Arsenal's income and their revenues, they are significantly greater. They've got regular Champions League positions now. They've got Champions League semi-finals. They've gone all the way to the penultimate game of the Champions League. So I would think that that they can continue. And let's be honest about it, they're all spending lots of money at the top of the table, and Liverpool have just confounded everybody's expectations by spending 300 or 400 million quid, albeit they didn't spend it last year. So it seems to be the staple diet of a top 4 side has to spend 150 to 200 million every season to continue being a top 4 side, even if it's 400 million in one season. 200 divisible by 2.
Phone numbers, isn't it? Incredible.
It is astronomical.
We're going to touch on Rangers briefly before you leave us, Matt. Rangers against Club Brugge tonight. We'll hear from Russell Martin before we go today. We'll also hear from the former manager of Zulte Waregem, Frankie Jury, the Belgian, who's going to give us his take on Club Brugge. And I don't think Rangers fans will like what they're going to hear. But what are you thinking about tonight? Because it's a final Champions League qualifier for Rangers. They've seen off Panathinaikos. They've seen off get Victoria Plzen. And now it's Club Brugge. What do you think?
This is the final qualification stage. I know me and Simon were a bit unsure. I was very unsure when I said it last week that they have to actually go through 3 rounds of qualification. But as we know, broken clocks right twice a day, don't we? So Rangers are actually 7-4 outsiders at home to win this game. Club Brugge 13-10 favourites. I know, and the draw's 27-10. I know Rangers have struggled domestically, but their record in Europe is pretty good. They've done what they need to do against Panathinaikos. They've done what they need to get against Victoria Pilsen.
Yeah,
I wouldn't rule out a decent home performance and a home win.
But this is a decent Club Brugge who did decent things in the Champions League last year. Beat Villa, didn't they? And got a few other results during the course of the Champions League campaign. So they're not. This is the toughest test, and I fear this is be the hurdle they fall at.
Do you think Ibrox will play a factor, Simon? Is that I've never been personally, but is that a tough place to go?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. Jim can attest to that more readily than I can. I've been there once and seen the atmosphere that's there. But I just think over the 2 legs, this is an experienced outfit that know their way around, that are good quality. And I think if they get through this, I think they'll have done remarkably well, and people should get off Russell Martin's back a little bit. But I fear that the Panathinaikos and other result will be washed away by a challenging set of outcomes in this Club Brugge, and I hope I'm wrong.
It's certainly a test. It's certainly a test for them tonight, but it's doable. Rangers kicking off at home tonight, the first of 2 legs, of course, and they get through this, then it's a Champions League proper. Matt, thank you very much indeed. Matt Gibson there. Visit betmgm.co.uk, download the app, 18 plus, begambleaware.org.
It's showtime on talkSPORT with BetMGM. Keep things golden with responsible play at betmgm.co.uk. 18 plus, gambleaware.org.
It's funny how Alex mentioned Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain. Matt Gibson mentioned Oxlade-Chamberlain, I should say. At one stage, Simon, it looked as if Oxlade-Chamberlain would leave Arsenal and then head to Chelsea. He didn't. He joined Liverpool. I remember that move. And now it seems that Oxlade-Chamberlain is heading to Birmingham City. We'll look at that very closely as and when it happens. Birmingham got off and running with a last-minute 2-1 win over Blackburn at Ewood Park. We know there's a big American influence now at Birmingham City, of course. Birmingham hoping they can go all the way to the promised land, and they certainly have the backing in more ways than one of the massive former NFL star Tom Brady, who was interesting at the start of the season about Birmingham's ambitions.
You can't ask a child, hey, come, pay attention to what I like. You're not going to have a very good relationship with your children. So you got to go and open yourself to other people and say, how can I embrace the things that you enjoy? And I think when you do that on a bigger scale, certainly when you relate it to a football team, you've got to open yourself up to that. And how can we help you be successful? What are the things that are important to you? And then you do your best to provide that within reason, like I said, in pursuit of trying to win.
Yeah, there was a key point for me in episode 1. You visit with your friends, you go to the training ground and you meet Wayne Rooney. And when you leave, you talk about you're not sure of Wayne Rooney's work ethic. You kind of question that. And I think it's really, really interesting because you've worked with Bill Belichick, obviously.
Tom Brady. Troy Deeney in conversation with Tom Brady. Yeah. They have big ambitions, and Brady has huge hopes for the football club because he wouldn't have got involved otherwise. And it's the same with the boys at Wrexham. Although they faced their second consecutive defeat of the season, they lost 3-2 at West Brom. These guys want success, and they want it now, don't they?
Yeah, well, of course they do. I mean, the Wrexham story is slightly different to the Birmingham story. Tom Brady is an elite sportsman and comes from an elite sportsman's mentality, so has a different mentality towards the sport. Irrespective of whether he knows the British football scene is irrelevant. He knows what an elite sportsman looks like, and he knows what an elite sportsman thinks like, and that's transferable. It's a transferable thought process. Yeah. And that's why it was interesting to see his observations about Wayne Rooney, because they were critical. He was critical of Rooney and the fact that he didn't feel Rooney was as motivated and as work-based as he should have been.
And Wayne thought that was unfair.
Well, yeah, I'm sure Wayne did, and I'm sure it's it's not something you want to hear of yourself, is it? It's critical, isn't it?
No.
Now, Birmingham spent less money this year than they spent last year in League One, which was interesting. In transfers, they spent 30 or 40 million quid in League One last year, and they spent £10 million so far this year. They'll be fine this year, whether they get an opportunity to push up and get promoted and follow the pathway that's been established by people like Sheffield United and Ipswich that came out of the league and went straight up and through the next league and get up again. Yeah. Will be a tall order. Yeah. Wrexham have had 2 difficult games. I mean, you've got Southampton just being relegated and West Brom that are an established championship side that are often perceived to be someone that's pushing for promotion. So Wrexham have not had an easy start. They'll be fine too. I mean, whether Phil Parkinson cuts it as a manager in the Championship, we'll see. Certainly a good manager to get you out of League One and to maintain certain status quos in League One and League Two, and he's been around enough to tell a lot of respect for that sort of role. But now we're moving into the big league now. This is the precursor to the event that you all want to be part of, which is the Premier League. Sure. And so Wrexham, with all the Hollywood money and the digital money that comes as a result of the association, is a different feel than Birmingham, because Birmingham have got elite sports people. I think some of the decisions they made weren't elite, and they should look at themselves for getting the team relegated in the first place and wasting a year. But they will have learned a lot of lessons from that, because by bringing Rooney in and making some of the decisions they did, and they were guided by people like Gary Cook, who was supposed to be in better positions of understanding, given the fact his role at Man City, then we, Birmingham have wasted a year. But now they're back in the Championship, and they're it's a big football club.
Big football club, and they are itching to get to the promised land. We'll see if they do. Jim White, Simon Jordan, live on talkSPORT. Talking of Tom Brady, the NFL returns to Wembley in October as the Los Angeles Rams take on the Jacksonville Jaguars, and we have a huge competition to win VIP tickets. We're giving you the chance to win 6 seats in a private box at Wembley Stadium with full hospitality and $5,000 spending money. Here's how you enter.
18 plus, UK excluding Northern Ireland. For a chance to win, text the word cash to 83338 and you're in the draw. Text costs £2 plus one standard network rate message. You must have the bill payer's permission or enter for free by calling 0330 880 3338. All entries must be received by 25th August at 11 p.m. This is a talkSPORT limited promotion run on talkSPORT, Talk and Virgin Radio UK stations. See talksport.com for terms and conditions.
Now then, we spoke matters boxing earlier on this morning regarding Daniel Dubois. And the developing story was that Daniel Dubois and trainer Don Charles, who've enjoyed so much success, not least that demolition job of Anthony Joshua at Wembley. The story is that Daniel Dubois was splitting from his trainer Don Charles. What is the strength of that and the accuracy of it? Daniel Dubois' manager Sam Jones joins us live on the show. Sam, good morning. True or false? Are the two of them splitting?
Good morning, guys. Tell Simon to relax. Yeah, Daniel's just put out a statement out in regards to his situation with Don Charles. Don Charles has done a fantastic job for Daniel. But Daniel's decided that he needed a change, and that's what's happened.
Why?
That's why anything. So Daniel's an athlete. He's a 27-year-old man. If he feels he needs a change, then that's what he's done.
What is the brief that you've got, Sam? I mean, obviously there's a lot of noise coming out that you've been brought in as manager. You're a certain character. You're quite full of yourself. So what's your brief? What's your job?
You'd know all about that, wouldn't you, Simon?
Go on, answer the question.
Being fully...
Absolutely. Go on, so we can recognise traits that we can both admire.
Listen, I've walked in. I've walked in. Listen, I've been involved for like a week, and I'm having a look at the situation, how we can.
But it's an interesting appointment, Sam. Forward. It's out of left field a little bit. I mean, I know you're.
How is it?
Well, no, because I wouldn't have naturally associated you be going in as Daniel Dubois' manager. That's not discrediting you in any shape or form. But it seems that it's come out of left field a little bit. So I'm interested to see what you're being tasked to do. Obviously, it's off the back of Daniel losing the world title. There's all this, revelations about what did and didn't happen pre the fight and all that sort of stuff. And of course, the next most important thing is what happens next. So it's interesting to see what you've been brought in to achieve.
Exactly. That's all that matters, isn't it? Daniel Dubois' next move and Daniel Dubois winning boxing matches. That's all that matters, and that's all I care about, to be honest with you.
So what is it then you've been brought in to achieve?
The same thing as what I do with my other fighters, Simon. Exactly the same thing.
Which is?
Match him
in the best fights.
Yeah, match him in the best fights. Look after him. Look after his best interests. And that's what I'll continue to do with Daniel. But like I say, look, people speak a lot about his father. His dad's a passionate man.
Yep.
And that's that. That won't change. But I'm being brought in for a reason. All I'll say is just everybody just relax. And
does that mean you're going to be able to have strong opinions, Sam? Because the perception is that, let me tell you what the perception is, and you can correct it or concur with it, is that Stan has very definite views about what happens with his son, is very involved, and there's a perception that might not be advantageous going forward. And now people would perceive that means that anyone that works alongside Stan is going to have to do as they're told, get in line, and not dare step outside of that particular remit. Is that something you're going to have to work within?
Listen, I'll offer my opinions. That's what I've been brought in for. And if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. But I'm confident it will. I've known Daniel a long time, and I believe that he's going to become a 2-time heavyweight champion of the world. One thing we can say about Daniel Dubois, right? Daniel Dubois is an elite level heavyweight, right? He's an elite level heavyweight, and he's lost to the best heavyweight of this era twice. Who cares? We pick ourselves up, we go again, and the next aim is to become a 2-time heavyweight champion of the world. We've got a meeting with Frank Warren and George next week to outline the plans, and that's all I care about. I don't care about all this nonsense. All I care about is Daniel Dubois becoming a heavyweight champion of the world again. Otherwise, I wouldn't have got involved.
And you got involved, Sam. Did they contact you, the Dubois camp, or did you contact them?
I don't contact fighters to manage them, Jim.
Okay.
Very rarely.
Daniel Dubois is saying this morning, I want to take this moment to thank Don Charles and his team for all the time, the effort and hard work they put into me over the past 18 months, and I'm truly grateful for everything. Sam, I mean, obviously, there's been a lot of talk around this gathering, this party that was said to have taken place on the day of the Usyk fight. when Daniel fought Usyk, and that, to a large extent, reportedly distracted Daniel from the job in hand. Whether that did or whether it didn't, it's still a big part of this story. Yeah. Would you discourage, when Daniel next fight, any such gathering taking place?
Listen, Jim, it happened before the Anthony Joshua fight, and he knocked Anthony Joshua out in spectacular fashion. The same thing happened against Usyk, and that's that really. I don't think anything like this will be happening again going forward. Daniel's team will be small and compact, and that's what's happening going forward.
Okay, but just to be clear though, going forward, who has the final say on what Daniel does and doesn't do in terms of preparations for the next fight? Sam Jones or Stan Dubois? Who's
the final boss? Daniel Dubois. 27-year-old man. Okay. Let me make that very clear. Daniel Dubois is the boss. His dad has an influence, of course he does. And that's the way that will always be. But Daniel Dubois is a 27-year-old man that will make his own decisions.
Okay, well, we have views on that, but let's not split hairs on that. What were you involved in the decision to dispense with Don Charles, and the potential decision to bring in Tony Sims?
Listen, the decision about Daniel's future training team has not been made. That's all hearsay. And whoever
his present team, then the dispensing of the services of Don Charles. Were you involved in that decision?
Daniel Dubois made the decision he needed a change.
Okay, Sam, listen, thanks for that. Sam Jones now in place and will manage Daniel Dubois going forward. Daniel Dubois, we can confirm, has indeed split with his trainer, Don Charles. And Daniel says, I'll be making a further announcement regarding my new team structure very soon. Okay, we're all ears. Thanks for that. We're coming up to 12 noon on this Tuesday, live on talkSPORT.
talkSPORT Sports Update, powered by the Nissan Van Range. Supporting van owners to get the job done. Search Nissan Vans or head to your local Nissan Van Centre.
With the headlines at just gone midday, I'm Nick Ellaby. Good afternoon. Should Leeds have had a penalty against Everton last night? No chance, according to former Premier League ref Mark Halsey. He's told us Chris Kavanagh just had a guess with that call and got it wrong.
If he moves his arm away from his body, and the ball hits him on the head, then yes, you can justify a penalty. But he doesn't. I mean, that is a natural position, and what's he supposed to do? Where's he supposed to put his arms?
Meanwhile, former captain Alan Stubbs says Everton should sign free agent Jamie Vardy because he'd be a great fit alongside Njai, Dewsbury Hall and Grealish.
They're players who are looking to slide balls in down the side. They want a clever player to maybe to run onto them, and I've got to be honest, I think Vardy's a perfect player for Everton right now.
In other transfer news, Wolves have signed right wing-back Jackson Chachoa from Hellas Verona. All your latest at talksport.com. Now, Sir Gareth Southgate will be honoured at tonight's PFA Awards for his contribution to football and achievements with England. Emma Hayes is also getting a Merit Award for leading Chelsea to 7 WSL titles. Players' Player nominee Alexander Isak's expected to give the gala dinner a swerve as his transfer saga continues. And Ben Duckett's told TalkSport he's got no concerns over Jacob Bethel captaining England, and the 21-year-old is mature beyond his years. Bethel will become England's youngest ever captain on the T20 Tour of Ireland.
It's going to be an experience more than anything. You know, he knows that, you know, when he plays for England again, it's going to be under Harry Brooks. So, you know, he's got the likes of Josh Butler there with him, who's going to help him out, I'm sure, on the field.
If you're that way inclined, Jared Kimber and David Lloyd get into which ground in the world is the hardest to bat on, up on TalkSport's cricket YouTube channel.
TalkSport News.
Rome and Geneva, possible locations for talks between Zelensky and Putin, and the Chancellor is said to be considering a new tax on houses worth over 500 grand to replace stamp duty. More with Emma at past.
TalkSport weather with QuickFit. With a huge range of premium brands available, we've got what you need to drive away happy every time. Visit your local centre or quickfit.com and book today.
In the east and northeast, cloudy with patchy drizzle. Across southwest England, scattered showers, maybe some thundery. Warm sunshine elsewhere.
Good afternoon, everybody. It is now officially Tuesday afternoon. It's Jim White and it's Simon Jordan, and we are live on TalkSport. We're also coming to you live, of course, on YouTube and your smart TV. A lot to get into in our final hour, not least Rangers going in against Club Brugge tonight, another qualifier to the Champions League. To progress in the Champions League, they've got to see off the Belgians over 2 legs. They saw off Panathinaikos, they saw off Victoria Pilsen. Now it is up to them, Russell Martin's Rangers, to see off Club Brugge. But we have one man in Belgium who's saying that's going to prove to be too much for them. We'll get to that. In the meantime, Simon, before we move on, Sam Jones, now the manager of Daniel Dubois, joined us live moments ago to confirm that his fighter, Daniel Dubois, had indeed split from trainer Don Charles, and that Daniel Dubois is saying he wants to thank Don. He says it's time for a change, a fresh approach for the next phase of my career as I push forward to become a 2 times heavyweight champion of the world. God bless, says Daniel Dubois. Who is driving all this, do you think? This change in the backroom staff regarding Daniel Dubois and the makeup of his team going forward? Is it Daniel? Sam Jones says it's Daniel Dubois. Do you think it is, or do you think it's Stan Dubois, his dad, or do you think it's who?
I hope it's Daniel. I hope he is taking charge of his own destiny. I mean, we all know that Daniel, and quite rightly so, people look for their fathers in every aspect. He's an elite sportsman. He probably needs elite people around him making elite decisions. If his dad is elite in that scenario, then he's perfectly capable of making those decisions. I would suspect probably a little bit more of his father. I like Sam, despite the fact that Sam is a cheeky little monkey. I do like him, and it'll be interesting to see how he works with Frank Warren, because I think Frank will have strong opinions. Frank has been very instrumental in Daniel Dubois' opportunities and career, and has been a great supporter of his and a great promoter for him for a long time. And so there'll be some frank exchange of views with Frank and with Daniel Dubois and his father and Sam. So that'll be an interesting dynamic to watch. But Sam's done a decent job for Jack Catchell. I mean, some would say he should have got Jack Catchell a fight earlier for a world title, rather than having to fight after fight after fight until he eventually loses to Arnold Barbosa, which means that Jack's gone to the back of the queue. But he's a character, Sam, and he's full of himself, and that should be a good thing for Daniel Dubois.
Okay, No doubt we'll hear from his former trainer, Don Charles, in the course of events of the coming week.
You can feel hard done by, I think, reasonably so.
Don can feel hard done by.
I think so. Yeah. I think
it's a well-respected.
Well, I disagree with Don's outburst after they won the world title when he felt he needed to come in the studio. I'm quite happy for people to kick Gareth A. Davis up and down the road, but I didn't think he was right to make it about some sort of persecution complex of him. But I also like Don Charles. I think he's a decent man. And I think he can feel harshly treated, because I think a lot of the communication channels that need to be very sophisticated in the way you deal with an athlete like Daniel Dubois were opened by Don Charles. And I hope that his reputation in the industry has been enhanced, which I think it will have been, which means other opportunities will present himself.
I like Don. We'll be speaking to him, no doubt, in the course of the week. Chelsea, of course, we know, won the thing over in the US. They are the Club World Cup champions. They banked well on £100 million in prize money for winning the competition. And now, maybe not unsurprisingly, other big European clubs want to join the party. Real Madrid understood to have raised the issue of moving to a 2-year cycle during talks with FIFA in Miami in June. Real Madrid want to be a part of it and want to be a part of it going forward. FIFA now considering holding the Club World Cup every 2 years from 2029 instead of every 4 years. Many people having their say on that, not least the Premier League football officer just last week, Tony Scholes, who says, hang on a second, let's not get ahead of ourselves here.
I have real concerns with regard to the Club World Cup's existence, if I can go that far. It's not a competition that we believe should have been played at that time of year in that location with no consultation whatsoever with other footballing bodies. Congratulations to Chelsea. They took part and they won it, and they won it magnificently. I mean, they completely outplayed an extremely good PSG side in the final, so they deserve great praise for it. But it is a great concern that the football calendar is getting condensed. UEFA have expanded. FIFA are now looking to introduce more and bigger competitions without consulting with us, really. I think what I would ask is that we should all get a seat at the table, and I include players in that and players' representatives, because it's their bodies that are being asked to play these 50, 60, 70 games per season. There should be a seat at the table where these things are discussed and consultation takes place in an honest and open way.
So, Simon, the Premier League football officer, Tony Scholes, who's been in the studio with you and I, and we know Tony pretty well, but he's saying, hang on a second, never mind lobbying from some clubs to make it a biennial event. We don't really fancy it in its current state.
Oh, yeah. You're the Premier League, then tell your clubs that you can't play at them.
But they can't do that. The clubs want to play in it.
Well, if the clubs may want to do that, but if the governance of the Premier League suggests that they can't do it, then the Premier League should invoke that sort of governance if they want to. Or are they saying they are in favour of the Club World Championship? They just want to look at the scheduling of it. Because I didn't quite understand what he was saying there. They don't want the Club World Championship, full stop. Everyone knows it's an overreach from FIFA. Everyone knows it's a transgression into the domestic game for commercial reasons. And if that is something that people object to and feel fundamentally that there's no benefit in it, then the league has to establish that principle. They all know there's a benefit in it. They all know the economics of the current pyramid. They all know that they can't. Yeah. The PSR rules that they put in place are garbage. We all know that their mishandling of the Manchester City situation is garbage. So now we're going to argue about the scheduling of a World Club Championship. I think they have some merit in their argument, but what I want to see is supposed grown-ups like this come forward with, OK, we recognise that the financial landscape of football is so challenging now. The genie's out of the bottle. We can't put it back in. We've made a hodgepodge of PSR because it doesn't do what it's supposed to do, which is control spending. It just allows the elite to stay the elite. So we're now going to think about the scheduling of what the Premier League is prepared to compete in and how it's going to meet the expectations of all the different aspects of football. So the players, ourselves, and the clubs and the financial landscape. And here's our white paper on this. Here's how it looks. We're going to get rid of the Christmas break. We're going to put a break in place. We're going to stop playing fixtures over certain times because we've got to recognise that whilst tradition is an inherent part of value, in the same way that we've changed broadcasting times, in the same way that we can play a game every hour of the day now, seemingly, and we'll probably move away the 3 p.m. watershed. Yeah. We can play FA Cup finals at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, and we've got Monday night football now. We're now going to have to accept that we're going to have to change the way that traditional football is pitched and presented, and we're going to have to meet the expectations of the modern day requirements, rather than we don't like it.
So
and we want to sit at the table to tell people that we don't like it.
Do we need more Club World Cups? Do we need it every 2 years?
First of all, do we need a Club World Cup for full stop?
Do we?
Well, ask the question of the clubs. It's an elite competition. It's an elite competition that once upon a time really was just based upon the champions of Europe playing the champions of South America.
Yeah.
It's now pivoted out because we all know that tournament football generates huge amounts of revenue, which is why the European Championships has become X amount of teams, which is why the European the Champions League has become a participation league rather than the winners of all the leagues coming in. Every other bugger in the league that's finished in the top 4 can now finish inside and win a Champions League. So it's not a Champions League. It's anything but. So the answer to your question is, by the metrics of what football's become, yes, we probably do. Yeah. Do we think that we should have it in the way that we've had it? Should the first inaugural tournament, with all the resistance, all the background noise, should it have been played in America? Should it have been played in extreme heat in a country that isn't wired for sound in the same way that football is wired for sound in other countries? Probably not. And you probably have less resistance towards it. You'd still have the debate about player welfare and how many games they're playing. But someone has got to put forward some coherent, cogent thinking about 38 games in the Premier League, and it doesn't mean because the top teams in the league will go, well, drop the league down. Let's have one less team in the league. Oh, lovely for you lot on the top. But what about the team that actually gets to be the sacrificial lamb that gets dropped down? Because they'll argue for that next, which will be the Premier League clubs that are well established going, well, we want the league to be less.
The thing is, nobody wants to work together on it. Until that happens, and Tony Scholes said it, everybody's got to have a say in it.
There's no chance until there's a set. And my forecast, my belief system is that there will be a Premier League 2 in the years to come, and that there'll be promotion and relegation between those two leagues and not between the Football League clubs. So there'll be this. The reason why I say this is because the reasons why you can't have clubs working together is because they're enemies. Their objectives are different. They have different outcomes, different ideals, different reasons for being.
They don't like each other.
So when you've got the NFL, you've got XYZ amount of NFL teams that all get together. They might not like one another, but they constantly like the outcomes that they get as a group, which is they all get distributed. There's no relegation, there's no promotion. And if you do what I think will happen, which is a Premier League and a Premier League 2, and relegation and promotion between those two leagues, but guaranteed revenue streams, then you'll see owners being prepared to work together about rule changes, about advancing the game, because they don't have that particular issue around competing with one another financially, because it's already been cut and dried.
So this Premier League 2, when did you hatch this idea? And what happens to the Championship?
I think the reality of football is that's where it's going. And I think the Super League will become being back on the table. And if you look at the ownership models that are now owning football clubs, look at it. Work it out for yourself. How many teams are owned by, we're looking at some statistics we might talk about later on the show about how many English players are playing in the Premier League. Yeah. Well, how many English owners have you got? How many English coaches, how many English managers have you got? How much of the game is actually English and seeded in the actual traditions of this country? Bit by bit, inch by inch, yard by yard. It's moving away from that. And the only way you're going to see sustainability, because they're destroying it. The Premier League is eating itself now with PSR and ridiculous court cases against one another. They're suing one another. Can you ever imagine a situation where clubs are suing one another, they're suing the league, and they're destroying the fabric of what the sport was supposed to be in the first place?
So when are we talking about Premier League 2?
Well, who knows?
Sometime in the next decade.
Oh, I think so. Yeah. I mean, I'm not wanting to be a doomsday merchant, but I think there's a distinct inevitability about that. And the more you push these clubs, the more you push clubs around governance and around PSR, the less likely you are to have them to want to comply to the existing framework.
Well, maybe not unsurprisingly, Chelsea are super thrilled to have been crowned Club World Cup champions. But were they absolutely right to plonk a World Champions badge front and centre of their shirts?
Yes.
One member of the media has come out by saying a gaudy circle of gold, almost the same size as the club crest next to it, has been affixed to their shirts. World Champions FIFA, the writing around the circle said it looked like a meretricious piece of trash. That's because it was a meretricious piece of trash. Who said that? I'll tell you who said that. But we'll hear from Todd Bowley, who's super proud that Chelsea are Club World Cup champions.
On talkSPORT with Keep Britain Tidy. No ifs, no buts. If you smoke, bin your butts.
Yeah, it's time for this feature, Keep Britain Tidy. And basically, we take a subject, which on this occasion will be the merits or demerits of the Club World Cup. And we'll look at it and think, well, where are we going with this? Does it deserve to carry on as an argument because it has merit? Or does it deserve to be put in the bin in an attempt, of course, to keep the place tidy? So let's talk about it, Simon. And of course, we know that Chelsea won the inaugural Club World Cup over in the United States. Are they right to flaunt the fact that they indeed won it? Because let's face it, if you've got it and you've won it, should you flaunt it? Before we get to that, Todd Bowley, co-owner of the club, when he joined me on talkSPORT on this show the other day, yeah, you bet he was proud that Chelsea were winners.
We couldn't have wished for a better outcome for our boys who have done such good work and trained so hard and, you know, really came together in America under Enzo's leadership and his direction. And no one gave us a chance to beat PSG. And the boys really thrived and grew on that. We knew all along in the value of the project. And so, you know, I think obviously it came together brilliantly. And those are just odds that you can't predict, you know, but we're hopeful that every day we wake up, you know, the odds are that, you know, Chelsea is going to win something big.
Wow. Every day we wake up, Todd told me, we feel that Chelsea could go out there and win something big. So they won it, and it was something big. But are they absolutely right to plonk a World Champions badge front and centre on their shirts? The argument being, if you're winners, should you flaunt the fact that you are winners? Ollie Holt in the Mail. When Chelsea ran out at Stamford Bridge for their first game of the new Premier League season on Sunday, it looked as if a bit of tat from a pound shop had been stuck smack bang in the middle of the players' chests. A gaudy circle of gold, almost the same size as the club crest next to it, had been affixed to their shirts. World champions FIFA, the writing around the circle said, it looked like a meretricious piece of trash. That's because it was a meretricious piece of trash. For those who don't know, and I'm one of them, what does meretricious mean? Attractive, but having no real value. Is he right?
All fur coat and no knickers.
All fur coat and no knickers, as you regularly
Well, he's a Stockport County fan. So looking at Chelsea through that prism will engender a certain sort of socialistic view from Ollie. I think Ollie's an excellent journalist and he writes great articles. I mean, Chelsea are... They won the World Club Championships. Whatever merit you attach to it, they've won it. Why would you hide your light under a bushel? They have won it. And, you know, they've got no shirt sponsor on the front of their shirt, so they've got to put something in there, I suspect. But I look at it and say, well, look, the tournament in and of itself was universally vilified, ridiculed, parodied, from having no broadcaster to having no value. Neither of that was true. And as the tournament got on, it got bigger and better and more compelling, and no one would have seen a Chelsea side beating a PSG side. And, you know, we know Nasser Al-Khelaifi. We know that he would have liked to seen his side have a clean sweep of opportunities. PSG. And they didn't. They got beaten by Chelsea. It has value. The idea behind it that, you know, that people like Wenger were invested in was that there was going to be distributions of money around the world to other parts of the world to help their football pyramids, so that the gravy train of production of players from all different markets creates better outcomes, i.e. there's a bigger talent pool, because if New Zealand sides are playing in the World Club Championship and there's getting more money and there's more revenues coming into those leagues, it creates more academies, more player development, and there's a bigger talent pool around the world, so that not just the big clubs get the best players. So there is some substance behind it. Ollie has seemingly taken offence at it, doesn't like the competition whatsoever, so ideologically he's entrenched in his position. So any opportunity he's going to have to take a great big dump on it from a great height, that's what he's doing.
Do you think he's fair doing that, though? I think at some stage.
Well, I like Ollie. I like him a lot. I think he's a brilliant journalist.
But Chelsea went out there and won it. You can only beat what's in front of you, and they won it.
But that's the point.
And that's the point.
I'm not entirely sure where the gerrymandering comes in.
Well, I mean, he goes on to say
the reason why I'm saying it's gerrymandered is because Chelsea have gotten in on the back of a qualification for winning the last team to win the the Champions League, besides Man City, who were qualified in because they'd won the league. And so there was a timing issue. And of course, you got Inter Miami being sort of wheedled in there because of Messi and the fact it was being played over there. So I get some of that.
Would you be making the same kind of noises as Todd Bowley made to me? That they are damn proud to have won.
Why not? He takes all the brickbats. Why can't he bask in the so-called glory?
Do you back the club putting a big crest on the chest saying Club World Cup champions?
Why not?
Because they are.
Yeah, I mean,
see, Ollie says the prominence of that crest was an insult to the Chelsea sides of 2012 and 2021 that won the Champions League, and yet whose achievement is not commemorated anywhere in the club shirt.
Okay. I mean, there's a bit of whataboutery there, but he might have a point. I mean, we also know that those teams that won those leagues or those competitions have got constructed situations where Roman Abramovich has breached governance and paid agents off the books and players off the books. So we can talk about that as well. Or does that not form part of the thinking for Ollie's article because it doesn't support the argument that he has that those teams should be celebrated and revered?
So you're saying they're right. They're Club World Cup champions. They should celebrate. Flaunt it. Why not? Celebrate
They should also celebrate the. And I'm sure they must have done. I'm sure they must have carried some moniker on their shirts in the 2012-2013 season after winning the Champions League.
Yeah.
I'm sure they must have done.
What they won recently in the States, though, do you think it's a valued trophy?
Economically, yes. And it's
all he says. It's attractive, but it's got no real value.
But it depends what you value something by. The Champions League has now become a participation competition where teams are desperately so pleased to qualify for it, but most of the teams aren't in it champions. You can argue the fact that most things get devalued, and that the winning of these competitions has certain merit attached to it.
Yeah.
You're playing in the inaugural FIFA World Club Championship with all the teams that are in it. You've won it, and as this event undoubtedly becomes steeped in more significance, then the fact that they were the first winners can never be taken away from them.
Exactly.
At this moment in time, Ollie has a view on it. Don't know what you're saying exactly for. You dumped all over this tournament as well.
No, but I did admit it grew on me. And the longer Chelsea stayed in it, I thought, I wonder if they're going to win this damn thing. And they did. One of the many things we love doing about this show is that when we get on a topic and we go in a certain direction, many of you want to join us, and that's fine by us, and we jump on that. Chelsea fans calling in big numbers this Tuesday lunchtime. Stanley, you're one of them. What do you think about this? Do you think the club's absolutely right to plonk a World Champions badge front and centre on the shirts after you won it in the States?
Yeah, good morning, gents. Hope you're all well. I'm also a regular listener to the show. I do enjoy it.
Thanks,
as far as the Club World Cup badge is concerned, I think it's a bit of a nonsense story because when we last won the Club World Cup in its previous format, we put a badge in the middle of our shirt, just like City did, just like every team does. It's nothing new. It's just a new format. And as far as the value of the Club World Cup is concerned, the value will be deemed over time. No one really rated this new Champions League format before the season started, and now a lot of people have turned around and said, actually, you know what, this new group stage is quite good. So we'll see over time whether or not people appreciate the competition. There's money there. When there's money there, the clubs will be interested, and over time, fans will be interested. But when something's new, it's new.
Good call. Stanley, I like it. Make your manoeuvre and then your indicator will go off. Here's Jake, Chelsea fan. Jake, good afternoon. What do you think, mate? Do you think the club's right to stick this badge front and centre on your shirt because you are Club World Champions?
Yeah, of course they are. I think
this was something before we got to the final that was always talked about. Whichever club was going to win it was able to put it on their shirt for 4 years. That was kind of part of it. And FIFA are going to back this, aren't they? So we're just the first to win it. I think in like 10 years' time, it won't be a question. It'll be, that's what you do. But the irony of the fact that I've just driven half an hour to go and collect my shirt that I actually bought before we won it, and I've just had that piece of trash put on there. I can confirm it cost £7, actually, nothing less than £7.
Well done. Jake, just before you go, I mean, Ollie Holt and Simon and I agree we like him as a journalist who works in the Mail. He goes on to say, let's face it, Chelsea weren't even the best team in London last season, let alone the best team in the world. I mean, he's got a point there, has he?
I understand that. And also, I hear Andy Goldstein constantly saying, you know, would you rather win the Carling Cup or this? It's just like different ball games. It's like starter and dessert main. You know, the main trophies, you're domestic and you try to win them. We won the dessert of the year, you know, and that's what we wanted.
And you get the badge and you're going to stick it on your shirt. And the badge cost you £7, did you say?
Yeah, and I jumped in the car and I just heard piece of trash and I thought, oh no, what have I done?
Jake, you called in and we're delighted you did. Thank you so much for that. Chelsea are the Club World Champions, and now we'll see whether or not we're going to get more of this as a tournament, if indeed FIFA do take it from every 4 years to every 2 years. Goodness me, 12:30.
Get in the bin! On talkSPORT with Keep Britain Tidy. No ifs, no buts. If you smoke, bin your butts.
Over the last few years, Formula One has gone from elitist and insular to a global entertainment brand. The transformation's down to American investment group Liberty Media, who cultivated a new image for the sport since buying it in 2016. Better access to drivers, improved content on social media, and tapping into the US market have given F1 a massive boost in both attention and revenues. But is everyone happy? The fans certainly are, as evidenced by Drive to Survive. Almost 7 million people per season have tuned in to get all the gossip and all the drama from the paddock. The extra exposure means the drivers can demand a higher salary too. In 2010, the top drivers were earning $20 million a year, which isn't bad. But now, the very best earn 3 times that, with Max Verstappen getting a whopping $65 million in 2025. But money doesn't always buy happiness. Some drivers, including Verstappen, don't like the pageantry the changes have brought about. In Las Vegas in 2023, Verstappen said the drivers were made to look like clowns, and the event was 99% performance and 1% race. Some purists who still watch the sport feel the same, and that the spirit of competition has suffered. But Formula One and Liberty Media don't look like slowing down anytime soon. So expect more races, major events and exclusive access in future.
Boxing update on talkSPORT with DAZN, the global home of boxing. Buy now at dazn.com/boxing.
Yep, this Saturday live only on DAZN. Unbeaten Jack Rafferty defends his British and Commonwealth titles against the dangerous southpaw Mark Chamberlain in a domestic showdown. Sign up now at dazn.com/boxing. A lot of boxing on the go at the moment, Simon.
Indeed.
Is there not?
Good time.
What does instinct tell you? Who would be next for Moses Itoma? What's your thinking on that? I've seen one or two messages come through. What might we think regards Moses?
I mean, it depends what direction they're going to take him in. If they could, obviously, Frank talked about the fact that if this was such a compelling victory, they would be pushing him into a potential world title shot against maybe Joseph Parker if the WBO belt was vacated by Alexander Usyk. I'd like to see him have another leveler against someone like Filip Hrgović. Or even maybe David Adelaide. I mean, David Adelaide's lost to Filip Hrgović on the weekend, so that might not make us quite as much sense. But I want someone that's going to hit Moses back, and we haven't seen anyone capable of hitting him back yet.
Yeah. You always tell us that politics and sport, they shouldn't mix. We don't want politics in the sporting arena. Here in the UK, Reform leader Nigel Farage has released a video advertising their new football-style Reform FC shirt. Yeah, really.
We are Reform FC, and I'm proud to be its manager. What a season we're having. We're right at the top of the leaderboard. We're 9 points clear of our nearest rivals, and I want you to get on board. Join the winning team. We need your support. Go to reformfc.com and get yours.
reformfc.com. I mean, will politicians and those in the corridors of power ever stop using sport to push their own agendas? This is what you despise, is it not?
Well, I dislike politicians being involved in sport because they fundamentally don't understand what they're talking about in relation to certain subject matters, as we've seen exhibited time and time again. And I also think that political thought processes change. So sport aligning itself. I'm more disinclined to have sport align itself than I am to have politicians. If sport doesn't want politicians aligning itself, if sport can push back, it doesn't. It jumps in a boat and rows with it. And political persuasions and viewpoints change. So when sport aligns itself with particular causes that are politically motivated, and then the wind changes and circumstances changes and the world looks at things differently in 5 years' time, all of a sudden that alignment looks poor. I mean, we saw the alignment of sport, the running towards the entirely decent principle of Black Lives Matter But when you look behind it and see who was behind that organisation and some of the thinking that was going on there, it becomes more unpalatable. So you have to think about who's involved in certain situations. Now, Farage is just being clever, isn't he? He's not trying to hijack sport and tell us that they should actually be changing the football governance bill, and ultimately we should be given free-to-air broadcasting to fans, and ultimately like Labour policies of where every football club that's sold should be 10% should be held back for the fans. Not or we should align it with this particular motivation. He's simply saying, I'm putting a football kit in, it's got number 10 because I'm going to number 10. And I'm associating it with the building of a football team because people can relate to it. And that might be the demographic that vote for reform.
Yeah, but he's trying to tap in to that very market, isn't he? The football market, the football supporters market.
Well, yeah, but he's not on the back of policy, not on the back of aligning politics with thinking around
Well, not
sport.
yet.
Well, he will have to be. I mean, he's changing his position on lots of things, isn't he? He's changing his position on the fact that he wants to have reform MPs as peers inside the Lords, which he didn't want before. And there's always this thought process that he's an outlier now, an insurgent, and if he becomes part of the mainstream, he'll become the same as the mainstream. So there is a point which could be suggested, but he made himself very clear, didn't he? He doesn't like the independent regulator. He doesn't like people being involved in politics, being involved in sport. So he's going to have to make the much fabled, famous media terminology of a U-turn if he starts to involve himself in sport.
So you're giving this a kind of thumbs up?
I'm giving it a no thumbs up or no thumbs down.
Yeah,
I think it's irrelevant. I think it's just a piece of marketing that's basically suggesting that we're a winning team. And what do you associate a team with? Some team sports. It could have been rugby. Happens to be the biggest sport in the world is football. And he's using some creative imagery to say, I'm at number 10. I'm managing a team.
One of a number of message senders this lunchtime, Ryan, I'm not having that at all. Reform FC shirt, football style Reform FC shirt. You know what's going to happen? They're going to go to these rallies and they're going to wear their Reform FC number 10 shirts.
I don't think that's the message that Farage is. I don't think he's trying to create a fashion brand or an identity. I think he's just simply imparting a digital footprint and look at us, we're building a winning team. And this winning team has number 10 at the front of it because I'm going to number 10. But if people don't like it, they don't like it.
Maybe they don't like it.
You like Nigel. Last time I saw you, you couldn't blow enough smoke up his backside last time I saw you. After constantly observing on me and my felt collars, as soon as Farage comes in, there you are.
Well,
there you are, over to him.
If this was Labour
very impressive,
Labour FC shirt heading to number, they're in number 10. But Lib Dem FC, number 10 shirt.
Well, I wouldn't put it past Ed Davey, absolutely. He could wear it on one of his surfboards when he's surfing around in the back of Nowheresville.
Here's another one, though, before we head towards 1 o'clock, and I'm determined to push this to you. Out of a possible 220 players starting in Premier League games in the first weekend round of fixtures, only 56 of the 220 players were English, 25%.
Surprises that much?
The Premier League, remember, Simon, was set up on the understanding it would benefit our game and the grassroots football that goes with it.
Is that what it was set up on the basis of? I thought it was set up on the basis of getting more money to the current set of owners.
But having said that, so we've got, 56 English players out of 220 over the weekend there. Does the domestic league have any responsibility to feed the national team? Because when it comes down to it, the domestic scene, the Premier League, the teams that play in the Premier League, the cream of that, you hope, will feature for, I was about to say Gareth Southgate, will feature for Thomas Tuchel at some stage. The cream going forward.
Sure. So they can't play in other leagues then. So the fact that all the countries that feature in our league, they pick their players and play for their international type teams. So all the Spanish that are in our league and the Germans and the Italians are getting picked to play for their national side. So our players can go abroad if they want and play in elite leagues in Spain and Germany and France and Italy and wherever else. It's a globalised league. We opened the door and we turned it into the greatest league in domestic football in the world. The only thing English about it is its geography. Predominantly, if you look at it, how many owners are English inside the Premier League? 2?
Yeah.
2? 3? 3, if you count Enoch in the mix of that. So
Tottenham, yeah.
So you got Matthew Benham at Brentford, Tony Bloom, Sullivan, West Ham. So maybe four that they've got. Czech major partners with Czech businessmen.
Yeah.
So then you look
foreign
at
investment.
So you then look at the Premier League and go right. So how many clubs are owned by English or indigenous people? Not many. How many are coached by them? Not many. How many are managed by them? Not many. How many of the players are English? Not many. What's the common denominator? Maybe we aren't good enough. Maybe we don't invest in our own businesses. Maybe our skill sets aren't good enough, and maybe the Premier League has become so significant because the smallest component part is English. Tragedy, as much as it sits uncomfortable with me because I'm a proud Englishman, the reality of it is that culturally, in lots of ways, we are not where we need to be on the football field. Technically, we're not there. We're much better than we used to be.
Yeah.
British players walk around with a sense of entitlement, that they're entitled to have certain things that perhaps some of their counterparts around Europe don't think the same way. I think there's a great deal more professionalism in tragically, foreign players and foreign coaches than there seems to be. It can't just be that there's an anti-English sentiment as to the reasons why every manager in the Premier League isn't English, with a couple of notable exceptions, and they happen to be the ones sitting at the bottom of the league.
Does it bother you that only 25% of the players over the weekend there were English?
Not if they're not good enough.
If you are this proud Englishman, does it bother you?
Well, I've accepted the principle of a global league. I've accepted that we've got, the English Premier League is made up of English clubs that are entertaining, the world with the products. But the component parts of it are predominantly from other parts of the world. You can't have it both ways. We can't accept that we could limit it to just being English players. Would it advance the national side? No, because the competition would be less. The reasons why the league is so good is because it's got so many different players from so many different parts of the world and so many different thinkings. And and it wasn't created as you curated the principle behind the Premier League. It was created to make money, to be able to distinguish between what was happening in the late night.
Cascade down the pyramid.
No, it wasn't.
It was created with the understanding it was going to benefit our game.
It wasn't. It was created so it would benefit the top 20 clubs inside the country, or 21 at the time. And the Football League had an opportunity to come along with that. They turned it down. They didn't want the distributions from the Premier League. They told them to go forth and multiply. And here we are now, 32 years later, with the Premier League being a brilliant league of jeopardy and intensity and the best players. The consequence is that we were coming out of an era in the 70s and 80s where coaching wasn't great, player technique wasn't great. We had Charles Hughes, the mentor behind English football, writing about coaching, and all it seemed to be about was big, strong boys booting the ball from one end of the pitch to the other, whilst the Continentals were becoming more technically adept. Brilliant coaches like Malcolm Allison were lost in the ether. And football was in a strange position. And so out of that came great thinkers like David Dean and Noel White and other people at the time, even Irvin Scholar, talking about the idea that we can turn, after the 1990 World Cup, football back on its head from a game that nobody wants to broadcast, politicians thought was an awful sport, Thatcher hated it, and all that sort of stuff, to now this remarkable powerhouse of a domestic league, which actually, if you look at it on a prorated GDP basis, is actually probably better than the NFL, which is held up there as a poster boy of how you generate broadcast revenue based upon having 360 million people in a country and we only have 60. It's comparable. But the consequence of that was we made it a globally invested league, which meant that ultimately you've got people that are now buying football clubs from all around the globe.
Oh, yeah.
And we've now got a talent pool all around the globe, and it's incumbent upon the English game to make its players better. And I'm surprised that we've got as much representation as 25%.
Are you surprised at that? 56 over the weekend.
I'm surprised it's as high as that.
You surprised at that? Seriously?
Yeah, I am.
Yeah.
Yeah, I am.
Yeah. Okay, we shall keep across it. Interesting, the dynamic of that with the numbers involved there. 56 over the weekend of the 220 players who turned out in the Premier League were English, 25%. A proud Englishman, not me, Mr. Jordan. It is 1:45 this Tuesday lunchtime. I know that music. The NFL returns to Wembley in October as the LA Rams take on Jacksonville Jaguars, and we have a big competition to win VIP tickets. We're giving you the chance to win 6 seats in a private box at Wembley with full hospitality and $5,000 spending money. Here's how you can enter.
18 plus, UK excluding Northern Ireland. For a chance to win, text the word cash to 83338 and you're in the draw. Text costs £2 plus 1 standard network rate message. You must have the bill payer's permission or enter for free by calling 0330 880 338. All entries must be received by 25th August at 11 p.m. This is a talkSPORT limited promotion run on talkSPORT, Talk and Virgin Radio UK stations. See talksport.com for terms and conditions.
talkSPORT. Okay, we will. It's time for this.
The Real Deal on talkSPORT with Selco Builders Warehouse. For the latest special offers, pick up this month's Real Deals in branch or view online at selcobw.com.
Going to see if Rangers can prove to be the real deal this week with Selco Builders Warehouse. Tonight, it's their final Champions League qualifier. It's the first leg. They get through this, then head to Belgium for the second leg against Club Brugge. If they get through both of those games, they're in the Champions League proper. But Club Brugge, bit of all right, according to those who know Belgian football right now. We'll see. Certainly going into it, Russell Martin, yes, he wants a right kind of result. But at Ibrox tonight, he wants to see a bit more joy amongst his players.
The energy is reciprocal. The team needs to play with so much energy that then the fans feed off that. And so that'll be the message to the players. And I spoke to the players this week about they have to enjoy, they have to play with a bit more joy here at Ibrox because it can be so special and so brilliant. And there's still a bit of tension at times and all that stuff. So our job is to give them enough clarity and consistency that they can actually enjoy playing for this football club and enjoy moments like that, because it should be one of the best opportunities and times of your career. Of course, it can be tough at times and all that stuff, but seize the opportunity that you have whilst you're here.
Do you find it strange? He needs to say to them, look, get out there and enjoy yourselves and show me you're enjoying it.
I'm assuming that they aren't enjoying themselves, or they're feeling the pressure of expectation. Well, that's the responsibility. That's what goes with the price on the ticket of paying for a club like Rangers. You should enjoy it, and that's his job to engender that in his players.
Yeah.
Maybe, some of the reaction that they've got. I mean, it's interesting because he gave him a great big, what's the word I want to use? Telling off.
Kick up the jacksie.
Yeah, kick up the jacksie after they didn't do well in their first league game and told them all that they were this, that and the other. He'd pull themselves together. He wasn't happy. The standards were low and he dropped players left, right and centre. Now he's telling them to enjoy themselves.
Yes.
Make him lined up.
Rangers go into this. They're up against Club Brugge tonight. It's the first leg, as I said. Club Brugge, for their part, at the weekend, went to Zulte Waregem. I've been there. I've been to Waregem. And they won by a single goal to nil. Well, on that occasion, it was to interview Saido Berahino, who was playing for Zulte Waregem at the time. And their manager at the time, thank you for that, their manager at the time was one Frankie Jury. Frankie was at the weekend's game there when Club Brugge beat Zulte Waregem. And he spoke to me briefly this morning. He said, this is what he saw.
They take a lot of initiative. They were better than Waregem. Waregem is a new team in the first division. They play a little bit low, but good in block. So after 45 minutes, it was a one-direction game, and it was 0-0. And at the end, Brugge was better in the fourth quarter, just after the half. Scum Eagle, and at the end, a young player who come in, Campbell, he has a good shot, and 0-1, I think, in minutes, I don't know exactly, 92 or something.
Frankie, what kind of system will Club Brugge play at Ibrox tonight?
Brugge has an identity. They play all the games in 4-3-3 with a very good accent in the construction. They have really good players between the lines to break the lines when the opponent press. So, and then finally break open with an acceleration in the corner, in the middle with deep runs. I don't know exactly, but they have a good identity in a 4-3-3, yes.
I notice this is a young, hungry team for Club Brugge. Gone are the days of the big names like Rob Rensenbrink and Jan Keulemans, yeah?
Yes, they have history, and especially also the last 10 years with the new management, the president, who is who is ambitious, who put a good management, who put a good structure in the team. They have really a good staff. The facilities to train are really top in Belgium. So Bruges is number one in Belgium. Even when Union placed champion last season, if you see the results of Brugge the last 5 or 8 years, they are ever come back 1 or 2, and they realize success in Europe. So it's a good team for the Belgium.
What do you think, Frankie, over the 2 games? Who goes forward in the Champions League, Rangers or Club Brugge?
For me, I hope Belgium. I hope Brugge, because I'm from Belgium, and I support a little bit for Brugge. It's normal. I like Brugge. They have a good identity for the Belgian football, but it is every time close game. Rangers has also a good team. I think Brugge is a little bit better, but in 2 games, home and away, you never know.
Frankie, I know you're heading off to play some paddle tennis. My co-host Simon Jordan says he's a decent paddle tennis player too. Maybe you two can play one day.
Yes, if you invite me to go to London, I play paddle with your friend.
My friend. The problem for you is that Frankie Jury, former manager of Zulte Waregem, is, I understand it, a very, very good paddle tennis player.
Yes. Yeah. Everyone that's pitched playing against me, you say is a good paddle tennis player.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to set that up, and I'm going to watch you thoroughly defeated on the day.
Doubtful.
You fear a bit for Rangers going in. You think they've gone this far, but maybe this might be.
I don't want it to be the case. I mean, this side are a decent side. This is a side that went and got results away from home against Atalanta, that have beaten Anderlecht recently, pretty regularly away from home. So they're a decent side. They got results against Villa. Okay, Villa then, after the group stages, Villa did a number on them when they played them in the knockout stages. But they've got a good base of players. They're a good team. They play in a decent league, and I think probably a slightly better league than the Scottish League in terms of its depth. So I'm fearful for them. But it's incumbent upon Rangers to get an outcome tonight, to get a really good launch pad to go over to Belgium and try and defend it, because we know that they'll do okay. I mean, this team have got decent results. They got decent results last year in Europe against Juventus, as I say, against Atalanta, against Villa, and all of those sides, with due respect to Rangers, probably sides that you would expect to do numbers on Rangers. I hope I'm wrong. I don't want to be right. I hope Rangers can overcome and get into the main draw, because if you have to go through this many qualifying games to get to the main competition, you don't want to be falling at the last hurdle, do you?
That's right. This is the final qualifying tie. Club Brugge, interestingly, favourites tonight to win at Ibrox, but we'll see what Russell Martin and Rangers can do about that. Thanks to Frankie Jury for joining us. Simon, thanks as always. We're back tomorrow at 10. Let's hope Rangers can get themselves a lead before the second leg, and Russell gets his way and Rangers play with a bit of joy in their faces. We're at 1 o'clock this Tuesday lunchtime.
The Real Deal on talkSPORT with Selco Builders Warehouse. Check out this month's Real Deals at selcobw.com.